Mic check. Happy Monday, everybody. Nobody got the hat right. Whoever said jacuzzi hat, Goose, you were close. The jacuzzi hat was on. Oh, shit. The jacuzzi hat was on, but it seemed to clash a bit with the pink hoodie, so we got rid of that. I got to put up a link for these hoodies. This was sent by one of our friends in Hawaii, and I'm blanking on their company name. I got to throw the link up one of these days for these hoodies. They are unbelievable. I wish I could wear them every day, but I can't. And happy Monday, everybody. That was a hell of a weekend. That weekend felt like it was 3 weeks. Did anybody else? I know this is probably not popular. Did anybody else feel like that weekend went by slowly? To me, it went by slowly. I thought it went by slow. Maybe I was just like consuming too much information. And there was a lot to consume this weekend. We'll get to that in a minute. Bad weekend for Trump. Bad weekend for MAGA. Bad weekend for Joe Biden. Bad weekend for a lot of people. But good weekend for those who were afraid that the Supreme Court was just going to roll over and do whatever Trump wanted. Good weekend for that. Baseball tournament all weekend. That'll do it. That will actually do it. I think every time I drive past, there's a big like baseball complex down the street from me, and every time I drive past there, like usually Saturday or Sunday morning, me and my daughter will go to our favorite donut place, and we'll get a donut. And driving back, it's like 8 a.m. and those places are just packed with parents, and they're there all day. Shout out to the baseball parents or the softball parents. I'm thrilled every day that I'm not a baseball or softball parent. That would be absolutely miserable. Took the day off. Good for you, Brother Bob. I thought about it. I do need to announce tomorrow's show is going to be later than normal. It's going to be probably around like noon, my time, Pacific. It's the end of school, so my daughter has her end of school, I don't know, performance. I don't know what they call it. They're going to sing some Christian songs at me. And this is that's her last day of school, so I won't be here tomorrow morning. We're gonna push it back, and then we got to push back with Admir because we've got some stuff to celebrate later. So tomorrow will be a different day, and then back to normal on Wednesday. I do wanted to announce as well. I would imagine, I have not been contacted yet by Jubilee, but I would imagine that my episode is coming out sometime soon, maybe within the next week or two. When I went and shot at Jubilee, there was another episode that shot right before me in the morning, and Jubilee released that episode yesterday. So I would imagine sometime this week or next week, I'm going to get an email from Jubilee letting us know when that's going to air. And whenever it airs, we will do a live react. Like we'll stream the whole thing. We'll do a live react. I don't think we'll do it on the Discord. I don't think it'll be on the morning show. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I'm not sure. Depends on how long it is. I don't know what they'll edit it down to. Anyways, let's get going. I haven't seen James Comer in a while, which is always devastating for anybody if you haven't seen James Comer for a while. But when we do see him, he drops lines like this.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if that was in.
Let's see. That is quiet as shit. Let me mess with the sound. Ooh. There we go. All right, that should do it.
Intentional, and they were trying to jizz up some type of coup or some type of insurrection, as Jamie Raskin would say, or whatever.
Yeah.
Look, wouldn't surprise me at all.
We'll hear it again.
Intentional, and they were trying to jizz up some type of coup or some type of insurrection, as Jamie Raskin would say, or whatever.
Yeah, they're trying to jizz up a coup. That's a tough way to. I don't know a lot of coups that start that way. I know some that end that way, but that's James Comer. And then Brett Baer on Fox News watched his career flash before his eyes as he interviewed Donald Trump, and Trump said this.
That those are major nuclear powers. Those are not like a little bit. And they were angry. And the next phase was probably, did you see where it was getting, it was tit for tat. and it was getting deeper and more. I mean, more missiles. Everyone was stronger.
I just want to point out, once again, I don't know if the MAGA is here yet. If you ever read a transcript of something that Donald Trump says, you will never know what the fuck he's talking about because he's an actual stupid person with a high level of confidence. So I realized halfway through this, I should have set this up. This was his interview with Bret Baier, and they're talking about the ceasefire between India and Pakistan.
Everyone was stronger, to a point where the next one's going to be, you know what, the N-word. You know what the N-word is, right?
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I figured you'd want to clean that up. No, it's the N-word. That's a very nasty word, right? In a lot of ways. The N-word used in a nuclear sense, that's the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah. Poor Bret Baier. Like, whoa. I would imagine that neither of those words are scary words to him.
Those are major
he thinks when he lands a joke, I tell this to my daughter all the time. She'll say something that's funny, and then she says it on repeat for like 20 minutes. And now that she's old enough, I'm like, hey, if you keep telling the joke over and over, like it stops being funny. It's only funny like the first time. So go ahead and let it simmer for a minute. Not Trump. Trump does it one time and he gets a reaction, and now he thinks it's like it works every time. He reminds me of every old guy that I golf with. They all have about 4 jokes. And most of their jokes are great jokes, but they only have 4. And so once you've been around them for 5 or 6 months, you've already heard all their jokes. And then it's just on repeat. And they all laugh at each other. Maybe they forget because they're old, or maybe they're just being kind to each other. I'm not sure. But Trump just reminds me of that. Just like an arrogant guy, not that funny. But he thought he got a good one in there. And poor Bret Baier. All right. Actually, this is a real question we have to ask our press secretary. Like this, we honestly have to do this. And shout out Peter Ducey, I guess, for being the one to ask the question. This is real. This is a real question that she has to give a real answer to, because President Trump is really our president. He's a real person.
The last one. What does President Trump mean when he says that Taylor Swift is no longer hot?
Look, he is speaking about Taylor Swift's political views and how perhaps it has impacted the support of the American public for her work. And I will leave it at that. Annie, go ahead.
She's like more popular now than ever. She's like the most popular musician on earth. She has to answer that question. She has to answer that question because Donald Trump woke up in the morning and must have seen a video of Taylor Swift and then decided, because in his world, like I'm sure she's not hot in his world. I'm sure in his world, she's not very popular. You probably can't say Taylor Swift at Mar-a-Lago. And since Trump only lives in his own carefully crafted echo chamber, it probably does feel that way. But that's a real question we had to ask to the Secretary of Defense. Lies. What did I lie about? What did I lie about? Did I lie that she's popular? She'll be at a T Swift concert within the next 3 years. She's not invited. She's not going to be able to go. Shit, my computer's doing that weird thing again where every time I exit out of a video, it's going to start playing. All right. I wanted to show you Jessica Tarlov before I got into the main substance today. I just want to point out that Trump keeps doing this thing, and it's hard when you have like Republicans in your life that hear Donald Trump say things and they think that he's doing great things. So when you hear Republicans talk about the success of Donald Trump and how he's bringing back American manufacturing and he's bringing back jobs, it's important to remember that so far he has done none of that. And the commitments that he's talking about from these foreign entities largely are dollar figures that have already been committed. They were committed during the infrastructure bill and during the Biden administration, and now he's just taking credit for them as if he is doing it.
Hoodles. He has all of these big headlines, right? We're getting all of this investment, like the $8.5 billion out of Qatar for Texas energy company McDermott. That was already announced in 2023 and 2024. Abu Dhabi, he says, a new $200 billion. That's a cloud computing deal with
Thanks, Rory, for joining the Dollar Train.
Amazon, also announced during the Biden administration. Saudis allegedly giving us $600 million. We haven't billion. I'm sorry, haven't documented all of it, but we do know that the project, the airport project, was announced last August. So the Washington Post has documented all of this. That at least a half a dozen of the contracts that he's talking about happened under the Biden administration, and that is something that Trump likes to do. He likes to show up and then take credit for things that
what about the other half?
People did. The other half, I'll give it to you, $300 billion of the $600 billion. But don't go out there and say you got $1.4 trillion in investment when you didn't really, or at least give a nice, signal.
This is what I don't get about some of these Republican bootlickers. They're like, Trump announced all of this money that he got it. And then when she breaks it down, she's like, all right, this was already secured. This was already secured. He's like, yeah, well, some of it did happen under him. So therefore, it's still a lie. That's just still a lie. You can't claim credit for everything. And that's what's so difficult about dealing with Trump people, is if he tells this massive lie, but just like a little part of it is true, they're like, well, that part's true, so you guys are crazy for saying that he's lying. You never focus on the true parts of his statements. Yeah, I guess that's true. Because humans, we expect humans to tell the truth. And so when somebody lies, generally that's what you focus on. So we're very sorry. But you see, Greg Gutfeld just has to jump in. Well, some of that he was part of. So
To the previous guy and say,
by the way, she's looking great. I like this outfit. She looks like she got on a tuxedo. I'm a big fan of this outfit for Jessica.
hey, actually,
There is no
Joe,
previous guy. We already know there was no Joe Biden, so it's kind of hard to give him any credit.
How the fuck are we in this world? How the fuck are we in this world right now? There was no Joe Biden. He's not even real. This idea that Joe Biden was a corpse. What were you guys watching? I don't know how this has become like an actual narrative that Joe Biden was doing nothing. You guys just talk about the auto pen, and now you're gonna shit on his family all week because he's got cancer. This is so stupid. It is so mush brain, dead brain, dumb brain, lazy brain, dipshit brain shit. This is what dumb people say. This is what people who don't have anything to say. All of that. She lays out all the lines. Well, Joe Biden wasn't real. What? What are you talking about? If he wasn't real, how do you get all those investments? And if he's not real and he was just sitting back and we got all these investments, then are you telling me that this pieced together executive branch where Joe Biden was just a complete vegetable, they're more capable than Trump? What's the point Greg Gutfeld's making here? Yeah, well, I know all that was Biden, but it wasn't really him. All right, so his cabinet was better than Trump too? Is that what you're saying?
have a birth certificate, and we did see him.
Thanks, Jen Star and Valerie, and Swish, and Sully said, just want to show support for my daddy, Jen. We got the people complaining about getting a real job in the chat. Good to have you. Can I get a real job? No, I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yes, he's not African.
Who's this new person, by the way? Who took Judge Janine's spot? Who is the new 5 person? Is that a gosh, it's gonna do this shit again. Somebody explain this to me? Can somebody explain to me why I can't click this button right here in the corner to minimize? Does anybody want to explain why my computer doesn't allow me to minimize buttons or minimize windows sometimes? So I have to hit escape.
Poodles.
And then it just plays the video anyways. I don't know. I'm not very technologically advanced, but somebody needs to explain to me why I can't click that button. I don't know. Who did we figure out who it was though? Technology is fighting with me today. This is just the new version of begging for change on the corner. Yeah, that's what it is. This is the same thing. Like, brother, I'm doing the same thing those people I just showed are doing. I don't know if you know this. Like, when we grew up, everybody watched television. And nobody looked at the people on television and went, you're just a grifter on the street corner. And now everybody watches the internet. And so that's what I'm doing. And I don't want to play a bunch of ads every day. So we're not going to take crazy ads. We're not going to, sorry, if you need your dick medication, you'll have to go somewhere else. It's the same thing. I don't know why you guys are so triggered by this. You're watching it. What are you doing? What would you be doing right now if you weren't watching me? If you weren't sitting here rage commenting in the comment section, what would you be doing? Do you have a job? You don't have something better to do? It's not like you saying that is more productive than what I'm doing. Just out of curiosity. It's the same line every day. Nobody gives a fuck. It doesn't hurt anybody. So I'm just wondering for you, like, what's your life like? Just think about it. You don't have to answer in this comment section because you'll lie. I know you're retired, you make a bunch of money, you work from home, some shit like that. You're all going to say the same thing. It's crazy how many Republicans show up every single day here in the chat during work hours and are like, actually, I'm rich. Sure you are. Sure, just so you know, nobody believes you're rich. And the reason we don't believe any of you are rich is because then you come up here and you talk and occasionally, and then it's exposed very quickly that you're not that bright. Speaking of not that bright, though, Trump, who loves AI, had a weird weekend. This is gonna get clipped. I'm actually not even. I think I can play like 2 seconds of the song, so you know what song he's playing. But here's what Trump was busy posting this weekend. Actually, this isn't Journey. I can write a bit. That's what he was doing this weekend. That's so weird. He's such a weird guy. Then he gets mad because Bruce Springsteen. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Bruce Springsteen. If we need to show it, we can. But Bruce Springsteen basically said what all of us are thinking: that Donald Trump is a incompetent, petulant, overgrown child. And so Donald got really mad about that, decided that it was rigged because Donald Trump thinks everything is rigged. If anybody ever says anything bad about him, it's rigged. It's the same shit you guys say every day. How much is George Soros paying you? How much is the DNC paying you? Nothing. We can just read. Like, that's the main thing. We just know how to read, and that's why we disagree with you. It's because we read shit. Not everything is rigged. Not everybody who disagrees with your dumbass president is getting paid to disagree with him. It's really fucking easy to disagree with him. This morning I was a little bit late, and because I was talking to a Republican who's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? We're just picking and choosing when amendments matter. We're just picking and choosing when due process matters. We're just picking and choosing. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to what this administration does. There's no rhyme or reason to what Republicans do. They just show up, and then you defend whatever they do. That's why I was a little late this morning, if we're being honest. I'm talking to Republicans who, like, I'm not even saying anything really. I'm just listening to them vent about, like, what the fuck are these people doing? And you know what they're doing? They're on Twitter. Donald Trump is on Twitter while all this shit is happening. Everything that you care about in the world is happening. And Donald Trump's on Twitter saying that Bruce Springsteen criticizing him is rigged. He must have been paid to criticize me. That's what he's doing. That was the important thing for him to get done this weekend. I better tweet in all fucking caps about how it's rigged that Bruce Springsteen doesn't like me. How much did Kamala Harris pay Bruce Springsteen for his poor performance during her campaign for president? Why did he accept that money if he is just such a fan of hers? Is there any evidence that she paid him? Like, this is how brain dead you guys are. You just let this guy say that. This is the rantings of a crazy person. This is you block your uncle for saying this shit. This is everybody's Republican uncle who has been muted. Even the Republicans don't like this uncle. But because he's your president, you pretend this is sane. This is not sane. This is crazy. He's tweeting in all caps about Bruce Springsteen and making up a conspiracy theory where Kamala paid him for the endorsement. Why did he accept that money if he's such a fan of hers? Isn't that a major and illegal campaign contribution? I don't know, man. But you got a felony for doing that. Suddenly now, campaign contributions. But one other thing. The campaign can pay people. That's not a contribution. That's an expense. This guy went to Wharton School of Business. He has an economics degree. And he's calling this a campaign contribution? If she paid him, that's an expense, not a contribution. He's dumb. Dumb. I think this is what we're going to do for 4 years. I'm just going to tell you every day that this is a dumb guy. And someday you're going to figure out, oh my God, he's just a dumb guy. He has money, but he's just a dumb guy. That's stupid. This whole thing doesn't exist. But even in this conspiracy theory that he invented out of thin air, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't even keep that straight. What about Beyonce? Same thing. If they paid Beyonce, that's an expense, not a contribution. And how much went to Oprah and Bono? Once again, that would be an expense, not a contribution, and it would be legal. None of this would be a problem. I'm going to call for a major investigation into this matter. They're going to call, the FBI's going to be like, bro, yeah, we looked into it. None of it happened. Or they're going to say, we looked into it and they paid them and that's legal. He just doesn't know what anything means. He doesn't know how anything works. He's just a rage monster, 80-year-old man who happens to have a lot of money. So you guys are like, he's so smart. He's fucking dumb. Very fucking dumb. None of you would write this tweet. None of you. All you Republicans in the chat. None of you would write this. You're all smarter than him. You would know that these aren't campaign contributions. You would know all of this. Don't pretend this is 4D chess. Don't try and spin this right now. He's just dumb. I don't know how many more years you have to watch dumb be dumb, but he's just dumb. Candidates aren't allowed to pay for endorsements. What are you talking about? Can you pay for an endorsement? Can a candidate pay? Also, did they endorse? What's the rules on endorsements? Let's see. There's no law against it. There's no law against it. You just have to disclose it. So, yeah. So if there's actually a payment to them, there's no law. You just have to disclose it. So what? Again, he doesn't know what a campaign contribution is. He seems to, down here, explain that he understands they're paid endorsements, also not illegal. He's just a dumb guy. He's got teams of lawyers. He's got an attorney general. He could have checked any of this, but instead he just goes out there and he's like, the law is whatever I say, the law is. And MAGA goes, the law is whatever Trump says the law is. And the Supreme Court says, dude, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, dude. He's just a dumb guy, which is what Kamala did under the guise of paying for entertainment. Okay. It's allowed. In addition, this was a very expensive and desperate effort to artificially build up her sparse crowds. It's not legal. Yes, it is. For these unpatriotic entertainers, with the commas inside the quotations there. This guy is functionally illiterate. He doesn't know how to use caps. He doesn't know how to use quotations. This was just a corrupt and unlawful way to capitalize on a broken system. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Truth Social. I appreciate it. Why did he sign it like that? What a psycho. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is just a dumb guy. So that's how Trump was doing this weekend. He also then posted this. He's just doing like QAnon conspiracies. Listen, I want to get ahead of this because you're going to have a bunch of MAGA in the chat. They're going to be like, what, you don't think Hillary Clinton's capable of committing a crime? Hillary Clinton is absolutely capable of committing a crime. These are conspiracy theories. Even if you watch them, it's different. If you and I watch them, it's different than our president using his time to watch conspiracy theories and then retweet them. All because what? All because he doesn't want to talk about what happened. So Trump is a genius. He's fucking stupid, man. This is crazy. You guys got to be better than this. Better than Kamala. Ah! We're just losing it in the chat right now. He doesn't want you guys to know that the Supreme Court told him he's a fucking moron on Friday. They're like, dude, they laughed his lawyers out of the Supreme Court. They were just like, dude, what are you doing? You think every time you deport somebody, it's incumbent on that person to go and get a lawyer and bring that lawyer before the Supreme Court? You think that's what you want to do? And the lawyer's like, well, you could do a class action, but they were also arguing that you couldn't do a class action. It was a disaster, so much so that the attorneys that were the prosecuting, I guess the prosecuting attorney, people who brought the case, were laughing with the judges. The judges and the attorney were laughing with each other at how absurd it is that this argument has even made it to the Supreme Court. And Trump's like, I don't want anybody to know how bad my weekend was, so I'm going to go say a bunch of crazy shit and retweet some crazy shit, and we're going to show it to you. But I'm just showing you because you shouldn't let yourself really get swayed by this stuff. Here's what he tweeted about the Clintons.
Remember John F. Kennedy Jr.? He was declared the front runner for the New York...
Guys, we get it. 86-47. We fucking get it. You guys did this on Friday. 86 means remove. The removal process for the president is impeachment. Swear to God, you get a hold of yourselves. Get it fucking together. We see it. We see it. And now you got the Democrats saying it too. Oh no. They're using it back against you. Oh no.
New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later.
We finally have consensus in the chat. The Republicans and the Democrats are all yelling 86-47. Oh no. We're coming together because there's a dumb guy as president.
Later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton.
When was she elected senator? Let's just look at these. JFK Jr. That happened in 99. Was he running for Senate? When did she win the Senate race? In 2000. Okay, they were. So she took. She took over in 2001. All right.
Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997.
That's what was going on. This lady had all the deep secrets from the Clintons, but they let her go, and she was managing a Starbucks. That's what. This stuff is so stupid. Yeah, of course, that's what they're saying. Just anybody who has been around the Clintons at all, if they have died, Republicans are like, the Clintons did it.
93, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found.
Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement.
In 2015,
yeah, Hillary got in there. I mean, look, this is just the dumb shit he's doing. I'm going to show you an interview from
Walter Scheib.
Kash Patel here in a minute, and basically doing the same thing. It's just this is what our president did this weekend. This was Iran's supreme leader on Trump's visit to the Middle East this week. Said some of the remarks made during the U.S. president's trip to the region aren't even worth a response at all. The level of those remarks is so low that they are a source of shame for the American nation. Trump said he wants to use power for peace. He's lying. I do. I also agree that he's lying. I think Trump is just playing both sides to get paid. You saw what happened. I mean, Trump claimed this weekend, he's like, I'm going to go meet with all of these, Saudi, Qatar, the UAE. I'm going to meet with them, and I'm going to tell them we're working towards peace. And then Netanyahu just goes absolutely bananas all weekend, bombing Palestine, and Trump doesn't say anything. Instead, he hops on Twitter, and he talks about Taylor Swift, and he talks about Hillary Clinton, and he talks about Bruce Springsteen, because he doesn't want to talk to you about any of this stuff. He's desperate to not have any of us talk about any of this stuff. And there are things I don't necessarily want to talk about, like Joe Biden has been diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer, stage 4 prostate cancer. And, that that is likely terminal at his age. The likelihood of him surviving, I think, is close to zero. And of course, what else would Republicans do when somebody's diagnosed with terminal cancer? What else would they do but pile on and turn it into some sort of conspiracy theory? Right, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Purple Kelly said Trump has to pay everyone for everything because he has no friends. Amy said Trump paid Hulk and Kid Rock. Valerie said you can't pay, but you can blackmail according to Trump. FOD said got to play Born in the USA to honor the boss. I would, but I'll get copyright stricken on YouTube. They'll take away our monetization. Springsteen was canceled by Jeep in 2022, and they think this is why. Was he from their old Jeep commercials? Amy Litt said retired Republican means rich. Rich means I live in mom's basement. Robin says you speak facts and truth. Thank you very much. A real job means you do something and get paid for it. That's true. What is a real job, says Rory. Swish says just one big weekend at Bernie's, or one big episode of Weekend at Bernie's. Valerie Genstar, thanks for joining the Dollar Train as well. All right, here is Trump Jr., who nobody should be surprised that Trump Jr. is a moron because his dad is, and those genes seem to be being passed down. What Donald Trump Jr. wants to know is, how did Dr. Jill Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this yet another cover-up? She's not a medical doctor, Donnie. There's a difference between an MD and a PhD, and Don Jr. doesn't seem to know that. Also invented a new stage of cancer, which is stage 5. So not only did he invent a new stage of cancer, he also doesn't understand what type of doctor Jill Biden is. It just dumb runs in the family, but unfortunately confidence also runs in the family. And so they're confidently dumb. And that's what you're seeing out of these folks this weekend. And honestly, what you have to be an incredibly shitty person to see somebody, even your worst enemy. I don't know who my worst enemy is. It's the person I dislike the most. Let's just say the person I dislike the most online. I think probably the person I dislike the most online is probably older millennial. If he got cancer, I would send him a private message wishing him well. And I don't like him. And I think that's what most people would do. I think that's like a normal thing for people to do. But not this family. They're such fucking scumbags. Trump did. Trump put out a nice message. But his family didn't like that. Commas don't go. There didn't need to be a comma in their text. Don't fix my English. There was no comma needed in that sentence. That's why I was wondering why Trump put a comma inside the parentheses. And it wasn't a quote either. It was just a word. So good job, Tex. Tex tries to. I'd give you change daily if you were on my corner. Thank you very much, Perfect Mix. And Vanessa says payment for your real job. Thank you, guys. Jen, do you want to? Jen's here. Let's all say hi to Jen before I move on. Maybe. Jen.
Jen's here.
Welcome. We haven't talked since like Friday. Did you miss me?
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know if you had me muted again because you're having so many technological issues today. I wasn't sure.
This one's not my fault. I blame PCs.
Right.
But you skipped.
Right.
How come when I asked if you missed me this weekend, you avoided that?
You know I don't answer those types of questions. That's just silly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment at this point in time.
Sometimes it's nice to be reassured that you're missed, you know?
Yeah, well, ask somebody else because you know you're not going to get the answer from me.
Okay, my bad.
Anyways, so how was your weekend?
Shut up. Shut up. Get out of here. Do your announcements.
All right. So, hi everybody. So yeah, if you guys are new here, if you know the MAGA Trump humpers in the comments, this is a show we do each day, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. We are crowdfunded, and if you look at the top left-hand corner, you can see the remaining balance that we need to knock out our gift goal, because this is our job, as much as you hate it to be. Venmos, Cash Apps, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out that gift goal. If we could knock that out sooner rather than later, we would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, you can use an Amazon Prime sub. YouTube, we've got regular subscribing. We've also got 4 different memberships over there if you'd like to help support us that way. Check out our link tree. We've got most social media platforms, and we got merchandise. And also, if you guys disagree with RTP, if you would like to come up and talk to them in real time, how you can do that is if you want to add me on Discord, send me a DM Discord. I can bring you up to talk to Jay in real time. So you don't have to be upset and cry in the comments. You can actually come up and have a conversation if you think RTP is wrong or you disagree with something that he's saying. So let's see. So I've got a longer joke or a shorter one. Which one do you want to go with?
I feel like you're setting me up on that. I feel like this is a setup.
I mean,
let's
either or.
Let's go with the longer one.
Okay. All right. Shit. Okay. I didn't copy and paste it. I'll come back with the other one. Anyways, just kidding. Even though the left wing and the right wing support it, Trump accepting that jet as a gift is just plain wrong.
Did you write that one?
No, I copied and pasted it from somewhere. I have a certain place I get jokes from.
Okay. That sounded like when you were.
It wasn't that great.
I appreciate that one. All right.
I mean, I adjusted it a little bit, but
you made it more topical, is what you're saying. You added Trump.
It actually the where I get them from, it was in the comments of the joke. Like someone put the left and right wing thing, and I just kind of merged them together because I thought it was a good combo.
I like that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get back.
See ya. No, the reason when Jen asks me how my weekend was and I tell her to shut up, it's because Jen knows I hate small talk, and she's trying to do small talk with me, and she's doing it just to make me mad. So I appreciate the conspiracy theories there, but that's actually what's going on. Is Jen's just trying to make me mad with small talk. All right. I actually want to. What time? 10:10. I'll do one more section. I think it's important. So on Friday when we left, I think it was right when we left, we got news that Chip Roy and a couple other Republicans, I'm trying to remember which ones, had struck down the big, beautiful bill. And they basically said, hey, this big, beautiful bill is maybe not so big and not so beautiful. It's going to add a bunch of money to the deficit, so we're not going to advance it. Mike Johnson went and he did the rounds and tried to play cleanup, and here's where we're at now. The House Budget Committee passed the tax and immigration package central to Trump's agenda late Sunday, and that's just out of committee. So that's not that it's not passed. It's not passed through Congress. It's just out of committee. Each committee they'll debate and they'll do markup and it'll go out of committee. And the House Budget Committee and the Rules Committee are the two committees where specifically a bill like this is going to have the most trouble getting out. The Budget Committee, they had a problem getting it out of the committee because they're openly lying about what's in the bill, and it's going to explode the deficit. For fiscal conservatives who all call themselves deficit hawks, changed their vote from opposed to present. So that allows the package to be recommended by the House 17-16. But basically what they're saying is like, we'll give you a chance to go in and make changes to this bill. What happened to the rest of the article here? My computer is out of its mind. All right, well, I'm just going to have to tell you because the article is not going to load. Basically, what they said is we'll vote present. This can go forward, but you're going to have to make changes to the bill. The frustrating part is Chip Roy came out on Friday, and he said basically, like, I'm a deficit hawk. I said we're going to cut spending. This doesn't address spending. And now what he's saying is that if Mike Johnson needs to find those spending cuts, and he needs to find those spending cuts in Medicaid and Medicare. The very thing they keep claiming that they're not going to cut, was how they got him to vote present. And so now he's basically saying, we may have a new bill, I may vote for it, but we need to cut a bunch of money from Medicaid and Medicare, which, of course, we got to give those rich folks a tax cut, and so we need to cut funding from Medicare and Medicaid. Then Chip Roy comes out and he says this, and this is why it's hard with Chip Roy. Like, sometimes he does things that sound principled, and then when you hear his explanation or when he goes back on that principled stance, it sounds a lot like this.
Is that we're trying to deal with the Inflation Reduction Act. The president can't.
Let's see. So he said, I feel like the right will do anything and everything not to focus on the present state of our country. And I missed one here when I was reading through it before. Where was it? Somebody said something about, I don't remember where it was. I don't know where it went. All right, I'll look for it.
Campaigned on terminating it, ending it right out of the gate. And the truth is, as we started peeling it back, a lot of the projects are able to go, and a lot of the funding to all of these Green New Deal programs.
That doesn't exist. There is no Green New Deal. The frustration I have with Chip Roy is that he knows that he can say Green New Deal and Republicans automatically are opposed to it. It doesn't exist. They didn't pass a Green New Deal. That thing, this very thing that he's claiming, like, oh, there's still the remnants of this bill that never passed. It doesn't exist. He just knows. I think he got persuaded. There isn't a Green New Deal. So what provisions is he talking about from the Green New Deal? He's talking about renewable energy. He's talking about the fact that these environmental regulations hurt oil companies, and not hurt them in that they're not that they can't produce oil, but that they have to use some of that money in order to do it in a cleaner way. And they have to pay insurance, and they have to pay settlements. There's a lot of things that they have to do. There are a lot of red tape regulations, which, by the way, is fine. If we're going to give them all of our oil for no fucking reason and let them make all of the money off of our oil for no fucking reason, the least we can do is also make them pay for anything they fuck up. What the oil companies have been able to convince Republicans of is, hey, all of this oil is ours. We get it. You guys don't get it. And you shouldn't tax us on it. And you shouldn't regulate us on it. And Republicans are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense because freedom. It doesn't make sense. For the life of me, I have never yet to figure out why any country would privatize oil and not nationalize it. It makes no fucking sense to privatize oil. It should be nationalized. We should all be making money from oil. It should pay for schools. It should pay for taxes. It should pay for healthcare. Why do we even have like private entities doing this? Why are we not sharing in those profits? It's ours. It's no more theirs than it is mine. It's no more theirs than it is yours. So why is it that they get all of the money? Why do they get to keep all of the profits? And then why do they get to lobby the government to cut their taxes and cut their regulation so they can make even more money and not pay for any of the damage that they do to the air, to the water, to the environment around them? Why? This is the thing. Like, this is the Republicans over in the cuck chair. Once again, it's always you guys in the cuck chair, cucking for somebody who's taking something that we all should share in because it's our country, we the people, right? And then you stand up and you fight for them, and you have to do it using terminology like Chip Roy by saying Green New Deal, because Republicans are the most easily conditioned human beings on earth. You just say something over and over again, and they start to believe it. Big, beautiful bill, Green New Deal, Russia, 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 impeachment scam, impeachment hoax. All this shit, you just give them a catchphrase and they're good. There's no such thing as the Green New Deal. That was a hypothetical deal. I think it was AOC and a couple others who wrote it, and it never went anywhere. It was their vision of the future for green energy, which, by the way, is very similar to what China did, and that is very similar to what China did in terms of success. Like, it would have given us that same leg up on renewable energy. If we would have done it when they put it in law, we wouldn't be so far behind. We wouldn't be having to like fight with China right now. We might be able to allow Chinese imports in here because America would be caught up. But instead, we're 10 years behind China right now because Republicans have been saying Green New Deal, Green New Deal, Green New Deal, bad, 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 communism bad, Green New Deal bad, AOC socialist, communist, and you guys are just like, yeah, that must be right. And now we're staring reality in the face that we're way behind. We're severely in debt. We desperately need money for infrastructure, and this administration's like, what if instead of paying for infrastructure, what if instead of focusing on renewable energy, what if instead of providing you guys with a better education, a better healthcare, what if we just let the oil companies keep more money? Would that fix it for you? And Republicans are like, yeah, that's what we wanted all along. We just wanted the oil companies to have more money.
Continue in perpetuity. There were 400.
Sorry, real quick. Think about the Saudis. Do you know why the Saudis are able to do all this foreign investing right now? It's because they nationalized their oil. It's the country's money. There's not BP out there in Saudi Arabia who's keeping all the money. So we give them our resources and then we don't tax them. Here's your free resources. Go make billions and don't give any of that money back to us, please. And Republicans are like, yeah, that's right. We love that shit. That's the way things should be. It doesn't make any sense. Your economic policies don't make any fucking sense. What Chip Roy is saying doesn't make any sense. We're just going to give away everything to oil companies, and you're going to like it. And I'm going to tell you that it's because of the Green New Deal.
$100 billion worth of continued flows for all of the Green New Deal projects that were put online that weren't even touched. And then there was, areas where new projects could start if they got started in the next 3 or 4 years. I was like, guys, that's not.
Carlos, address what I'm saying instead. How about that? How about for today? Every single Republican who does a whataboutism, mods, I'm giving you permission. They get a 1-minute mute. Every time a Republican talks about something that is not on topic, they get a 1-minute mute today. We're going to beat the fucking whataboutism out of you. We're going to beat you into reality. That's what we're going to do. We're going to force you to address what you're seeing on the screen right now so that we don't have to get distracted with your bullshit all day, every day. No whataboutisms from you guys today. You've got to act like adults today. If you want to act like children, Charlie Kirk's probably got something going on right now. Tim Pool's probably got something going on. Patrick Bet-David's probably got something going on. If you want to live in an echo chamber of whataboutism and blame Joe Biden for everything, go over there. But here we're going to address reality. And so no whataboutisms today. All whataboutisms, mods, I'm giving you permission. 1-minute mute for whataboutisms.
Termination. I understand we have to make some grandfathered exceptions for investments and stuff that are attached to the grid, but we got to terminate it. So we're working through that today and tomorrow, is that we're trying to deal with the Inflation Reduction Act. The president campaigned on terminating it, ending it right out of the gate. And the truth is, as we started peeling it back, a lot of the projects are able to go, and a lot of the funding to all of these Green New Deal programs continue in perpetuity. There were 400 billion.
I just want to show you just a reminder here that President Trump is saying we need to, I want to undo the Inflation Reduction Act. But this clip, I already showed it to you, but we'll show it again. Here's him bragging about the Inflation Reduction Act.
All of these big headlines, right? We're getting all of this investment, like the $8.5 billion out of Qatar for Texas energy company McDermott. That was already announced in 2023 and 2024. Abu Dhabi, he says, a new $200 billion.
All this stuff, infrastructure, Inflation Reduction Act, everything he wants to cancel right now. Or everything, he wants to take credit for, he's also saying cancel it. This is why I say it's dumb. You guys are you're bragging about the things that the bill accomplished, and then you're saying we should get rid of the bill.
$1 billion worth of continued flows for all of the Green New Deal projects that were put online that weren't even touched. And then there was, areas where new projects could start if they got started in the next 3 or 4 years. I was like, guys, that's not termination. I understand we have to make some grandfathered exceptions for investments and stuff that are attached to the grid, but we got to terminate it. So we're working through that today and tomorrow.
All right. M. Scott said, drill, baby, drill only works if we socialize oil. It only works if we share in the profits, right? It's the only way. Otherwise, they're just going to keep raising the price like they always do, right? Drilling, they don't want to drill, baby, drill, right? They want to charge more. It's better for them. They don't want to undercut supply and demand. They don't want to suddenly have a low demand and a high supply. Low demand, high supply. Yeah, I said that right. They don't want to do that. If we truly want to drill, baby, drill, and have like the lowest gas prices in the world, we're gonna have to remove that profit motive, We're going to have to remove their shareholders. They're never going to do that. It doesn't make sense. That's such a good point, M. Scott. I'm so glad you said that. I've never even thought of it that way. That's such a good point. That's the only way it would work. All right. Then Chip Roy tweeted this out last night after all that. Tonight, after a great deal of work and engagement over the weekend, the Budget Committee advanced a reconciliation bill that lays the foundation for much-needed tax relief, border security, and important spending reductions and reforms. Importantly, the bill now will move Medicaid work requirements forward and reduces the availability of future subsidies under the, again, Green New Scam, which doesn't exist. But the bill does not yet meet the moment, leaving almost half of the Green New Scam subsidies continuing. More, it fails to end the Medicaid money laundering scam, a perverse funding structure that provides 7 times more federal dollars for each dollar of state, depending on the able-bodied relative to the vulnerable. Now, this work requirement thing is pretty fucking crazy. When you look into it, Republicans have been unable to identify where these work requirement fraud is coming from. In fact, they have found none. They can't point to where this fraud is. It's less than 1%. And even that less than 1%, those mistakes are mostly like sending out money that they shouldn't have sent out, where everything was done correctly, but the system didn't catch it. That's not fraud. That's actually just incompetence on the side of the government. But it's less than 1% of Medicare. You are not going to save enough money. Less than 1% of Medicare is not going to save enough money to make up for these massive tax cuts you're giving to billionaires. These subsidies for green energy, they won't even make up for it. I appreciate that he's sticking to the line here, but I would like Chip Roy to at some point say, okay, what's the bottom line then? Does your new bottom line say that it will be net revenue or net neutral on revenue? Does it say that? Does it say that we're going to increase or decrease the deficit? Because everything I've read says it's going to decrease the deficit. The president's spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, momentarily will tell us differently, but she's lying. This all ultimately increases the likelihood of continuing deficits in non-Obamacare. Now we're on Obamacare expansion states like Texas expanding in the future. We can and must do better before we pass the final product. As such, I joined 3 of my colleagues to vote present out of respect for the Republican conference and the president to move the bill forward. Just so we're clear. He voted present out of respect. That's not what we're asking these folks to do, is it? Is that what we're asking our folks in Congress to do? Vote for a bill because they respect the party and the president? This is him literally just admitting, yeah, this is dog shit, but I respect Trump, so I'm going to pass it anyways. I respect the Republican conference, so I'm going to pass it anyways. We are lying to our people. We are lying about cutting the deficit. We are lying about being fiscally responsible. We are lying, but I respect them, so I voted present. It gives us the opportunity to work together this week to get the job done in light of the fact our bond rating was dropped yet again due to historic fiscal mismanagement by both parties. Agreed. This bill is a strong step forward, and I am proud of Chairman Arrington, the Speaker, and my colleagues for the work we did to make progress with the White House. But we have so much more to deliver for the American people. So stay tuned. We'll see how strong Chip Roy's spine is. Let's actually go to this. So then over the weekend, Moody's downgraded the U.S.'s credit. What do we have here? Moody's downgraded the United States overall credit rating from the highest level of AAA to 1 notch lower, AA1, based on years of rising debt and Donald Trump's tax cut plan, with the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Budget has calculated could add $2.5 trillion more in debt. The rating is important because it is a marker of how stable the U.S. economy is and how likely the U.S. is to be able to pay back its debt to lenders. Moody's is the last of 3 major credit agencies to lower the U.S. rating. Fitch Ratings and S&P lowered theirs in 2023 and 2011, respectively. By the way, and Moody's historically is late. Historically, Moody's is in bed with the banks, and they do everything they possibly can not to do anything that would hurt banks. So the fact that Moody's now at this point is lowering the ratings tells you how severe of a problem this is. On one level, the change is monumental. Since 1919, Moody's has consistently assigned the U.S. government its highest credit rating and held the country as a gold standard. Any downgrading is a major symbol that global investors no longer trust the United States as much as they have for 100 years. Now, imagine that. Imagine a guy who we elect to run the country, who is known, if anything, he's known for not paying his bills. That is the history of Donald Trump. Do not pay your bills. If you've read Michael Cohen's book, you know that that was basically Michael Cohen's job, is to not pay people and figure out ways to justify not paying people for the work that they did. That's who Donald Trump is. So we shouldn't be surprised that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about debt. He never did. Practically, the change doesn't mean much in terms of the country's ability to borrow money. With a rating of AA1, the U.S. is still miles above everything resembling a credit risk for most lenders. However, the most concrete implications are likely to be for consumers. While lenders will still offer the United States loans, they may ask for higher returns, which will likely get passed down the line into the consumer lending markets. That could mean higher interest rates for everyday people trying to borrow money for homes, cars, and more. Now, that sounds bad. That sounds like it would hurt all of us. Lenders will still offer the U.S. loans, but they're going to ask for higher returns. This allows lenders to leverage our credit rating and ask for higher interest rates. So who's that going to be? Who are we lending money to? Well, we know through the bond market. I think Japan holds more bonds than any other country. And China holds some of our bonds. I think India does. Russia, I don't know if Russia does, actually. There are bonds owed all over the country. And the way that a bond works, basically, let's say you take out $10,000 at 3%, you're going to get a 3% interest rate or 3% return on your APR. When we lower the credit rating, that might go to 5% or 6% or 7%. And suddenly the United States has to pay more on their debt. And because we're going into deficit spending, we have no choice but to take out more debt. None. We don't have extra money. We have to take more debt. And so that debt is going to come at higher interest ratings now. Now, Scott Bessent, he went out and he tried to spin this on, I think, his Meet the Press. This is what Scott Bessent said. This guy, Donald Trump, is aging him like ice cream in a...
Let me ask you, former Vice President Mike Pence echoed several of President Trump's, quite frankly, own allies in expressing concern.
Look at Trump's credit score, then lie again. The man does pay his bills and on time. No bank in America will give this motherfucker a loan. What are you talking about? Why are all of his loans from like Deutsche Bank? Why do they all have co-signers? How come nobody will let him build any real estate projects anymore? Have you noticed that every time a Trump real estate project comes up, he's just the title? They're all licensing deals. He's so bad and so incapable of paying people back that banks in the United States of America will not give him loans. And he requires co-signers for other countries to even give him loans. You're out of your mind if you think Trump's personal credit score, I don't know what it is. I have no idea what his personal credit score is. He doesn't ever put anything in his own name. It's all in shell companies or in their company's name. But people know that you do not loan money to Donald Trump. He owes every conservative city across the nation, he owes them hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid bills for his campaign. Donald Trump is most known for not paying his bills. You want to look? I'll show you a Barbara Walters clip here in a minute. But here's Scott Bessent getting a sip of water, ready to defend this. Please tell me my internet's going down now. That would just be the cherry on top of today. Let's see.
You, former Vice President Mike Pence echoed several of President Trump's, quite frankly, own allies in expressing concerns about this plane that Qatar has offered to President Trump. They are saying it sends the wrong message. It sends the wrong message and raises concerns ethically, raises concerns constitutionally, and about security. Why is it appropriate for the president to accept a $400 million jet from Qatar?
Well, it's not the president accepted, it would be the United States government. And Senator Mullins said this weekend that the talks had actually begun under the Biden administration. So, but Kristen, what I can tell you is I think this is a off-ramp for many in the media not to acknowledge what an incredible trip this was. That President Trump has brought back trillions of investments in the United States. Every stop we made, that the enthusiasm in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates to invest in the United States, that they want to push more and more their funds here. And if we go back to your initial question on the Moody's downgrades, who cares? Qatar doesn't, Saudi doesn't, UAE doesn't. They're all pushing money in. They've made 10-year investment plans. So this administration, we're doing
at better rates. At better rates for them. Of course they don't care. I don't know what I don't know what the terms are, but if you're going to loan the United States money, if these are loans that they're making to the United States, which from my understanding doesn't matter. If they're loans, it'll be at better rates. They're going to get a better return on investment. So of course they wouldn't care. Nobody's saying that the United States can't pay their debts anymore. What they're saying is that because they have so much debt and they're going to cut taxes, so they're going to bring in less revenue, it's a riskier investment now, which means a higher loan. It's the same like somebody might have a 720 credit score, which is a pretty good credit score. But somebody with an 800 credit score is going to get better terms on a loan. So the United States, we've been downgraded to like a 720 credit score. That's where we're at. We're still going to get like pretty good rates, and we're still better than a lot of places around the world. But we don't have great rates. Like maybe maybe something hit our credit report. Maybe we've got like a couple new collection accounts on the credit report, and so it's dropped. And now the rates aren't quite as good. And Scott Bessent says, "Who cares?" Well, the problem is when he says who cares and he points to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, what he's not saying is what you guys need to know is it hurts you. That makes things more expensive for you. Does Saudi Arabia care if things are a little more expensive for you? Of course they don't care. Does Qatar care if things are a little more expensive for you? No, of course they don't care. But here's why you should care. This is from Robert Reich. This is his Substack, robertreich.substack.com. He's brilliant. He said, I'm old enough to remember when America's super rich financed the government with their tax payments. Under the Dwight Eisenhower, hardly a left-wing radical, the highest marginal tax rate was at 91%. Even after all tax credits and deductions were figured in, the super rich paid well over half their top marginal incomes in taxes. But increasingly, since the Reagan, Bush, and Trump's tax cuts, tax rates on the super rich have plummeted. So instead of financing the government with their taxes, meaning funding the government directly with their taxes and that money going into government programs, what the rich are deciding to do instead with their money that the government is letting them keep, they have been financing the government by lending it money. You may have heard that America's debt is held mainly by foreigners. That's incorrect. 70% of it is held by Americans, and most of them, of course, are very, very wealthy. So now, instead of taking their money and funding the government is going in debt, and they are loaning money from the people that they're giving tax breaks to. So those people get to keep more of their money, and in return, we borrow that money from them that we should have taxed, and we pay them interest on that money. This is so fucking stupid. It is so fucking stupid. Tax them, please. Now they have this extra money to loan to us so that we have to pay interest. This is why we say it's a real cucky situation you're in. You would rather pay interest on money to billionaires than just tax them appropriately. Interest costs money. That means less money for school. That means less money for roads. That means less money for renewable energy. That means less money for you to have like nice parks and have if you live on the water, the upkeep from your lake. It means less police. It means less people fighting fires. It means less ground clearance so that you can scrape the ground in California. It means less money at the border. Whatever it is that you care about politically, this means you get less of it. And all of this could be fixed overnight if we just tax people appropriately. But they have so much extra money that our government is going in debt. to give them tax breaks, and then they get the money from the debt. This entire fucking system is rigged. It's rigged against you. I'm not going to hear from Republicans today who are like, no, actually, I'm rich. No, the fuck you're not, or you wouldn't be here. Let's just be honest. This isn't where rich Republicans hang out. You're not going to sit here and argue with me on the internet. You're going to be out there trying to figure out your next scam. This means that when the debt of the United States is downgraded because Trump Republicans are planning on another big tax cut, most Americans could end up paying in 3 different ways. Number 1, they'll pay even more interest on the growing debt to the super rich. And by more interest, we mean a higher percentage. Because again, and where's that money going to go? You and I and everybody who pays taxes are going to pay a higher rate. And who benefits from that? The rich. And who hurts from that? You. You get less money, they get more money, and as a special thank you, we'll cut their taxes. 2, they'll pay higher interest rates on all other long-term debt as higher rates on treasury bonds waft through the economy. They raise borrowing costs on everything from mortgages to auto loans. So great news, guys. I hope you didn't think that those 3% mortgage rates were coming back, because they're not. Because now money costs more to borrow. You want to refinance your auto? Sorry. Want to finance like a project on your home? Sorry. All that shit just got more expensive. This guy is fucking stupid. And the reason that all these billionaires are around the fucking stupid guy is because it's so easy. It's so easy to get him to just fuck things up. Everybody loaning the government right now that sees a downgrade from AAA to AA1, every one of them woke up with a money boner today. Like, my returns just went up. Thank you, Donald. And all of you are going to pay. What are we doing? Just because you don't want to admit you voted for a fucking dumb guy. They're all playing him. Literally, everybody's playing him. He went to the Middle East and got fucking played. He meets with business owners in America. He gets fucking played. And every one of them is just trying to get more money out of the United States at the expense of you. This hurts you. It hurts me. It hurts you. It hurts everybody in the chat today. And somehow the Republicans are still over there beating it dry, by the way, because we know you don't use lotion. You're just dry beating it in the corner. Oh, I hope Elon gets more money. Oh, that would make things so much better. 3, the debt crisis will give Republicans even more excuse to do what they're always wanting to do, slash safety nets. So many Americans could lose benefits they rely on, such as Medicaid and food stamps. But great news, guys. All your shit will be more expensive. Great news. You fucking did it. Poor people don't have Medicaid. Poor people don't have food stamps. All your shit got more expensive, but the couple rich people got more money. So great news. Do you understand when we say Trump fills his the cabinet full of billionaires and they're not going to do anything for you? This is exactly what we're talking about. This directly benefits them. So if you're looking at Trump and you're looking at the Republicans and you're like, well, they wouldn't, this is just hard times. Our credit rating's down, but that's because we're making changes. And sometimes you got to feel a little pain with the change. Yeah, if the change makes sense. If I scrape my knee and I put a bandage on it and I spray it with that shit that stings a little bit, that's a little pain. Yeah, I get it. My knee's going to hurt a little bit. That's going to sting. We're going to wrap it. It's going to hurt for a few days, but ultimately it's going to get better and it won't be infected. What you guys are doing is like, why don't you just open it up a little more and go to the park and have strangers spit in your open wound? Maybe try that. Maybe try that instead. That'll fix it. That's you. That's you guys. What you're talking about isn't fixing anything. You're breaking it to make it easier for rich people to have more money, but all they have to tell you is like, don't worry, we're doing this for you. You got to go through a little short-term pain. If we don't stop this now, like now, if the Republicans push this through Congress, if this gets through the Senate and this bill gets put into place, it will take decades to recover. And one of the hardest things in America to convince people to do is tax appropriately. It's going to be really fucking hard to tax rich people after this because nobody wants to do it. No member of Congress, no senator, they don't want to run on I'm going to raise taxes. It's deeply unpopular because Americans are deeply dumb and they don't understand like basic budgetary shit like this. This would be catastrophic to the middle class. every legitimate economist who has looked at this bill says the exact same thing. This is exactly what Romney said would happen. Romney's like, this is what Trump's going to do. He's going to fuck up our deficit, and he's going to make it harder for us to get loans, and he's going to increase the cost of living for everybody. This bill shouldn't pass, and you guys need to get over your love and devotion to Donald Trump and start looking at economics and start looking at math and realize what this does to you. It only hurts. This will not make your life better in any way. This is the projections from by the way, this is from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget. It's the Congressional Budget Office and the Joint Committee on Taxation and House Committees. This is bipartisan. This is the projections bipartisanly of our deficit. This is what our deficit looks like right now, or in 2025. Because we haven't passed anything, and because of spending freezes, and because we've just been, and frankly, because of some of the cuts that have been made through Doge, this is what we look like now. We're for our deficit spending. 2026 looks like we're going to be at $400 billion. Then nearly $600 billion in 2027. Now that's when these cuts are supposed to expire. So as it's written right now, if they don't expire, and Republicans are saying, we'll do this for 2 years, but then we want to make them permanent. Their goal is to make them permanent. If they don't expire, you can see here like the ones with the stripes, that is our deficit spending. It will continue to increase. But even if they do expire and we just allow it to continue, we will still have significantly more deficit spending than we have right now. These types of surges that we're seeing in deficit spending, this is essentially half, I think, of the first COVID stimulus. We're talking about every year half of the COVID stimulus, which I know you guys opposed. You said you opposed it, but that's essentially where we're going to be at. There is no legitimate source on earth that does math that says this isn't going to surge our deficits, which is going to keep our credit rating low, which means it will be more expensive to get money, which means the richest among us will continue to get richer because they've rigged this whole fucking system. This is why they're giving Trump money. This is Mark Andreessen. These have his fingerprints all over it. This is Curtis Yarvin. It's Mark Andreessen. It's Peter Thiel. It's Elon Musk. When they said we need to get rid of democracy, this is how they're going to do it, because at some point they will have so much money and so much leverage that they become more powerful than the United States government. We're about there. Think of just like effectively what happened with Doge. Elon Musk gave Trump a whole bunch of money, and he has a whole bunch of money. And then he said, I'm going to run Doge for you, President Trump. And he's like, great. This is terrific. And he went to Congress and he said, get the fuck out of my way. And Congress went, okay. And they sat on their hands and they got out of the way. And they did absolutely nothing. They didn't provide oversight. They didn't allow Elon Musk to be brought before Congress. They didn't ask any fucking questions. They just got out of the way. That's where we're at. We're at a point where Elon Musk has so much money, and because he owns Twitter and because he can shape public opinion, he has so much power that he's effectively more powerful than Congress. He just ignores subpoenas. They're like, hey, come testify. No, thanks. And then he just doesn't. That's where we're headed. We're headed where these billionaires will have all of the power, and the fucking hell of it is they're telling you that this is what they're doing. They're openly saying, this is what we're doing. We're undoing democracy. Not everybody should be able to vote. It should only be the elite, the rich, the well-educated. Those are the only people that should vote. You fucking blue-collar workers who all are voting for this and think that Elon's on your team? No, they don't even want you to have an opinion. And if you think you may think this is crazy, go rewatch the American Oligarchy series we put together, or just go look at American Oligarchy, or go look into Curtis Yarvin or Mark Andreessen. They all say this is their plan. It's unfolding right in front of us. Let's see. Okay. Jen said she's going to tell the mods chill on the mutes. We're done on the whataboutism mutes. People can whataboutism again for a little bit. I hope you learned your lesson. But if it's the same whataboutism over and over, then a 2-minute mute will do that. Kristen says, I'm in favor for fixed tax rate and close all loopholes. I'm with you there. Dreamliner said, remember how hard it was for Orange to get bond money after being charged in Atlanta? That's right. That's right. I don't know what M. Scott says, I did that one already. Drill, baby, drill. Brianna says, Jesus. Brianna says everyone is a squirtery is a squirter if you hit the right artery. I don't know if I said squirter at some point. I was not prepared for that. All right. Then here's Caroline Levitt. So just I'm only showing you for this reason. So when you look at the budget, the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, CBO, Joint Committee on Taxation, and House committees, these are like real economists. And these people are saying that like there will be an increase in the debt. I want you to pay very close attention to who she cites as her source here when she says that there will be no deficit spending.
Just a quick follow-up. Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. And the president absolutely understands and hears the concerns. Do
you know who the economic advisors? What did she say?
Economic advisors.
The Council of Economic Advisors. Do you know who that is? That's anybody Trump calls his economic advisor. It's an executive branch, and it's basically a special designation, and he gets to pick those people. Well, I know that every bipartisan organization in the world has said that this will add to the deficit, but Trump's friends said it wouldn't. She's not telling you what that means, but just hear it again. Just listen to the name.
Not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. And
why are we citing non-sources? This will not add to the deficit, except if you do the math, in which case it's going to add to the deficit. But Trump's friends said that it's not. I couldn't believe that's what she cited. I wouldn't have cited it if I were her. If I'm going to lie in such an obvious way, I'm not citing my source, because Republicans are going to go, I'm not sure. She's probably citing someone. No, just Trump's friends. His friends are. Linda McMahon said it won't. Scott Bessent said it won't. Elon said it won't. Howard Lutnick said it won't. Oh, okay. Did they cite any numbers? No, but they said it's going to it's a 1.6 trillion surplus. Oh, okay. Sure.
And the president absolutely understands and hears the concerns of fiscal conservatives and of Americans who want to get our fiscal house in order. That's what the intention of this bill is. There's $1.6 trillion worth of savings in this bill. That's the largest savings for any legislation that has ever. That's less than half of the savings that we see in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so the goal of this bill is to produce economic growth, to cut taxes, and to get our fiscal house in order. And this is the right step. And
it didn't pass the House, you fucking psycho. Get Mad Inc. It didn't pass the House. It came out of House committees. They have to vote on it in the House still, and then it has to go to the Senate. Sorry. This is what we're up against with Republicans. You guys are so confident when you are so wrong. You're mad at me for accurately saying what happened. This did not pass the House. Unless since I started, the House has voted on this. Unless since 9:30 a.m. Pacific, the House voted on this, then it didn't pass.
The right direction towards doing that.
Just a quick follow-up. Is the president okay?
Anyways, interesting. Why didn't she cite any of the other places? Why didn't she cite Committee for Responsible Federal Budget? Why didn't she cite the Congressional Budget Office, which is what everybody cites? Or the Joint Committee on Taxation? What happened to those Republicans on the Joint Committee on Taxation? They're all lying. All these bipartisan organizations are lying. But Trump's friends said it'll add 1.6 trillion. it'll wipe out 1.6 trillion in debt. Sure. All right. And then I want to get to this. This is going to be the meat of the show today. I watched this interview. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino.
The effectiveness if you don't have the resources.
I don't know why this autoplay is driving me nuts.
thinking up fantasies
What is going
in
on?
Maryland and building $5 billion new buildings. We have people who are...
My computer's going crazy. All right. Cash Patel and Dan Bongino had Maria Bartiromo. What is going on? This is crazy. I don't know why this does this. She went to FBI headquarters and she sat down with, of course, Cash Patel is the FBI director, and then two podcast hosts who are not equipped to do this job. And this is 35 minutes long. And the amount of lies that come out in 35 minutes, and the amount of information also that they then try and pretend isn't information. They're going to tell you some Republicans some things here that you guys have been saying are true for years. And both Dan Bongino now and Cash Patel after this interview are being hammered by right-wingers online saying that now they're part of the deep state. Because what happens is you guys have been sold by Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. They made millions of dollars after off of telling you that it was a deep state conspiracy that took out Epstein, and that it was a deep state conspiracy that you had a bunch of that the FBI planned January 6th, and now in this interview. They tried to dance around it, but they basically have to admit in this interview two things that they have been saying for years on their own podcast absolutely happened that didn't happen, and now they're being called deep staters by the far right. I just want to show you this interview because it's one, it's crazy, but two, it goes to show you just how hyper partisan everything has become, where even Cash Patel and Dan Bongino can't speak clearly to you. They can't tell you honest truths because it gets them in trouble with Donald. Because some of the stuff they say goes against what Donald Trump says every single day. But they're not quite able to make a case for it. So the spin is unbelievable. Anyways, here's Maria Bartiromo.
We begin this Sunday morning with increasing calls to investigate and possibly arrest.
Actually, Jen, this is going to be long. Do you want to do announcements real quick before this goes? This is going to take a while. See you, Michael. Thanks for being here. Yawn. I'm not talking about Hillary Clinton. Hey.
Yeah, we can do that. All right. So I see that our friends are here and upset. They're big time upset in the comments. Anyway, so as you guys, most of you are aware, this is our job. We do this Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. How we keep being able to do this is we're crowdfunded. It's not begging if people want to support the channel. So how we knock out that gift goal, if you look in the top left-hand corner, that's the remaining balance that we try to hit each day so that we can keep doing this and pissing everybody off. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking down that remaining balance so we can keep bringing information each day. If you haven't already subscribed to us, you can use your Amazon Prime sub on Twitch. You can subscribe for free on YouTube. We've also got 4 different memberships over there if you'd like to support us that way. If you guys disagree with RTP and you would like to come on and talk to them in real time, how you can do that is if you look at the Venmo, the Jen, JENNWBB, the number 1, that is my Discord username. If you want to DM me on Discord, I can bring you on to talk to RTP in real time. If you also check out our link tree, we are on most social media platforms and we've got merchandise. And then if you're also on YouTube, we put out content just about every day. So if you guys could go and engage with our content, comment, share, all that kind of good stuff. And I keep seeing in the comments 8647. I've been thinking people want me to say that, I'm assuming. So yeah, 8647 on that. And then let's see what else we got. So also like the stream with red heart in the corner on YouTube, would greatly appreciate that. So here's the other joke that I didn't have. A woman had 100 children. She didn't have the creativity to name all of them unique names, so she just named them 1 to 100. So, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth to 100.
Okay.
But unfortunately, a tragic accident happened.
Oh no.
And 99 of them died. The only one who survived was the one named 90. 90 eventually grew up and lived a whole life, and she had a few kids of her own, One day while 90s children were playing outside, they stumbled upon a stray dog and they decided to keep it. 90 didn't want the children to have a dog, so they hid it and named it This, so they could talk about it around their mom without her knowing. They would say, let's take this outside, and things like that, behind their mom's back. One day, while 90s children weren't paying attention, This walks out in the middle of the street and gets hit by a car. This eventually died, and 90s kids didn't tell their mom even then. No one ever hears about this ever again. Only 90s kids remember this.
Jeez. That was horrific. That was awful. I hated that. That's like a Norm Macdonald joke that takes 3 hours for no fucking reason.
Exactly. Here you go.
I do want to say during Gorilla Balls is freaking out. About every couple of minutes he's mocking how many likes we have on the stream, and it keeps going up every time he says how many likes we have on the screen.
What's hilarious is Gorilla Balls is here all
Every
the time.
day.
Even on Tuesday nights with Admir, he was here the entire time. For someone who wants to be here and talk so much trash, he is here all the time.
It's good to see you. Man. It's good to see you. Yeah. And then comments on the replays too. He comments on, yeah, because like if you go see our numbers, like it'll be confusing. If you go on our YouTube and you look at like the view numbers, it's like there'll be like 70,000 views, but it'll say like 8 comments. Because the comments from the live don't show up as comments like once it's not live anymore. So it's usually just like Gorilla Balls, like, haha, nobody's watching this. Like every day Gorilla Balls on there. And I appreciate it, Gorilla Balls. I'm happy to have you here. All you guys are always welcome, but it does make me laugh a little bit.
It's giving fan behavior. So.
I love that.
Right.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
All right, back to the JV squad running the FBI.
Jim Comey, after the former FBI director posted an image on social media suggesting a call to assassinate President Trump. Comey was interviewed by the Secret Service on Friday and is now facing a string of federal probes after he posted an image of a beach scene with seashells arranged.
I just want to point out, like, for all the people like, oh, you guys always freak, you take everything so, oh, you're going to investigate Trump for crimes. He put a picture of seashells, and now you've got a string of probes. A string of probes is probably also in your search history.
In the numbers, 8647, writing this, cool shelf formation on my beach walk. The number 86 typically refers to elimination, and President Trump is, of course, the 47th president. After much public outcry on social media, Comey took down the post, claiming he was not aware that 86 refers to eliminating something and that he opposes violence. There have already been 2 assassination attempts on President Trump's life, which are still under investigation by the FBI. After the incident, new FBI Director Kash Patel told me he is in the middle of an active investigation into this matter. Days earlier, the 2 walked us through Comey's weaponization of the FBI, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, as well as some of the other important cases that they are working on, including drug and human trafficking cells operating in America today.
Sorry, I'm showing you the whole intro because I thought it was funny to have the music, but here we go. Here's the actual interview.
Painful part is being with the families of the fallen, but we're here to remind America that there's a consequence to the freedom that they have, and there's good men and women that keep stepping up for that fight. So, it's a big deal that you're here on Police Week.
Thank you. And I saw the honor wall, and I want to walk past that with you. I unfortunately was on Wall Street on 9/11, and my heart goes out to the families who've lost their loved ones. Dan?
Yeah, 9/11. I was an agent on 9/11 with the Secret Service, and I just remember, as you probably do, even from the media perspective, the chaos. Remember?
I think Dan Bongino just wakes up every morning, looks in the mirror, and starts screaming. I've never seen a face so full of anger in my life. This is the angriest man. He has a very well-defined job because I think it's always clenched. You're going to see an actual psychopath. This is not a person who has the temperament to be in this type of leadership. He says some pretty unhinged shit in this interview. This is a guy who just wakes up every day wanting to do some violence. He's nuts. Like, look at how is he this upset already? We're 11 seconds in. He already looks like this.
Nothing worked like we thought it was going to work. So the director and I, we've both been deeply inspired, obviously, by, as everyone in America was, by tragic, horrible incident. But I know when Cash and I are sitting there in the morning, that is the single motivating factor for us, is keep the homeland safe.
I'm not making any accusations, but the pupils are mighty dilated for this interview.
That is priority number one.
And I want to ask you about that. Now, I'll go into some of the specifics, but Director, you've said many times that the FBI has been politicized. So what are your plans to rebuild trust in this fine institution and depoliticize the FBI?
So we have a multi-part process. First of all, our priorities, simple: crush violent crime, defend the homeland, rigorous organizational accountability, and the fourth, which leads directly to your question, aggressive constitutional oversight with Congress. The way we rebuild trust is we already have the men and women here in the rank and file that signed up to be cops, that signed up to be intel analysts, that signed up to be special support staff, that want to do the work. That's why we're sending them into the field. We can talk about
one of the problems I have with what Kash Patel is saying here is not that I don't think that the FBI needs to crack down on violent crime. I do think that that's important. And we do have problems with violent crime in this country. However, when you say what is your what are you going to do with the FBI? Like, what's your main agenda? They're cracking down on violent crime, which is falling. They're cracking down on they say they're cracking down on like drug crimes, which mostly seems to be like the stuff that they've been able to uncover and the crimes they've been able to stop. It actually seem to be Border Patrol. Doesn't actually seem to be the FBI who's cracking down on the drugs. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about, those types of narcotics that are coming into this country that are laced, that tends to be Border Patrol, and I'm sure the FBI works with them as well. But we do have like a proliferation of crime in this country. Financial crimes are rising at unprecedented rates right now. The administration as a whole is just looking the other way on financial crimes, and so we have the FBI for the first time that I can ever remember, basically saying, all we're going to do is violent crime now. We're not going to look into any of this other shit. And remember, before he answered this question, the question she asked was about partisanship and how this FBI was going to be nonpartisan. So just remember that, like, he claimed that this is a nonpartisan FBI, and I want you to think about that through the rest of this interview.
About that later. What we need America to know is that this place was politicized. And Congress has rightfully requested the documents from Crossfire Hurricane to January 6th to the Richmond Catholic Memo and so much more. But now, finally, Americans are reading for themselves the documentation where a very select few leaders in the former FBI decided to politicize it. We don't need me and the deputy telling you it's politicized.
All of the people that they are accusing of politicizing the FBI, they're going to say James Comey and Andrew McCabe, and I can't remember the other guy that they mentioned that was the director. All of them. Is it Clapper? All of them. I don't think it's Clapper, actually. It's Comey, Andrew McCabe, and somebody else. Republicans. Trump appointed Republicans. Trump could have gotten rid of Comey. Trump kept Comey on until then he fired him. Obama was criticized for Comey because Comey's a Republican. McCabe is a Republican. So these people that they're claiming politicized the FBI are Republican appointees.
We want the American people to read it, and now they are.
And I know I lived with it for you. I watched it with you and Devin Nunes when you were truth tellers on all of this.
Maud gets moist every time Cash mentions Crossfire Hurricane. Yeah, I heard she gets. Never mind.
Listen, you were as well, Dan, throughout the Russia collusion story and the rest.
Look, I can speak to the folks that were in our seats, our predecessors, and they intentionally failed the American public by putting on the biggest DC deception game we've ever seen. They said the FBI was the most storied institution for law enforcement, and it was.
Tex wants me to remind you guys that Dan Bongino has more viewers than me. Yeah, Tex, like all right-wingers get more viewers online. All of them. And he's still a fucking idiot. I don't care. I don't know at what point, if you're going to figure out that, like, people will view me or they won't view me, and it doesn't really change what I think. Like Dan Bongino's a coked out psychopath, so it's not surprising that an angry wannabe violent bitch like yourself, Tex, follow Dan Bongino. Everybody that you watch is an angry short psychopath. It's like you've got a type. It's so I'm sorry.
Us. And it will be again very soon. But when the likes of Comey and McCabe and Strzok and company came in here with the James Bakers of the world, and in
James Baker, three out of the four people he just named, the directors, were all Republicans. Strzok was not, but Strzok wasn't a director. So he just named three Republicans and said that it was weaponized against Republicans. Do you see how this doesn't make any fucking sense? And then this all happened like while Trump was president. Like McCabe was there while Trump was president. And then after Trump was president. He brought McCabe in. These are Republicans. It's not. This is why I don't understand Republicans, what you're watching. It's obviously not politicized. And so when Republicans, Donald Trump's like, I didn't commit a crime because it was a Democrat who was investigating me and they're biased. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And then when it's a Republican, you're like, they must be a Democrat. There is nothing that anybody can ever do to convince you that Donald Trump commits crimes, because you start with the presumption of innocence, and if you could find any exit route, like, oh well, James Comey doesn't like Donald Trump. Yeah, no shit. Either would I. If I was the FBI director and the president brought me in and demanded that I sign a loyalty pledge to him, not the Constitution, and when I say like, I don't want to. I've signed my loyalty to the Constitution. I promise I will follow the rule of law. And Trump's like, that's not good enough. Yeah, I wouldn't like that guy either. I'm not interested in pledging my loyalty to some fucking guy. I don't care if he's the president or not. Why are we pledging loyalty? But these are Republicans that he's talking about. This is the fucking FBI director. If we want to talk about politicization, find me another time an FBI director went on the most politicized news organization in the world and only talked about politicization. That's all he's talking about. This whole thing, you'll see, they just blame Democrat, blame Democrat, blame Democrat, and they tell you that it's politicized. McCabe didn't do this. James Comey didn't do this. James Baker didn't do this. Peter Strzok didn't do this. None of the people that he mentioned right now ever went on the news and politicized things. They just investigated crimes. And because those crimes happen to keep leading back to Donald Trump, Kash Patel, while being the most political FBI director ever to exist by millions of miles, is like, oh, everybody else is politicizing shit. Not me. It's not me. Not me. My previous job was I was a right-wing political podcaster, and my deputy director, his former job was right-wing political podcaster. We're not politicizing anything. We made all of our money off of politicizing fucking everything, but we're not political. It was really those other guys. And you're going to hear some accusations against them that are bizarre. I just want to put that in your head right now. Podcaster and podcaster. And they had their own podcast and they made millions of dollars, as Tex pointed out, being podcasters. Political, partisan podcasters, the PPP.
Intentionally lied to a federal court only to rig a presidential election by lying to the American public and using taxpayer dollars, likely illegally, to fund this entire operation, and then withhold exculpatory information from a federal court that I used to appear before to manhunt terrorists. That's what broke the FBI. And
that didn't happen. Sorry, I'm going to get so mad during this interview because it's like the 10th time I've listened to it, and I've fact-checked all of this. This thing that he's talking about, them withholding information from a court, that's just a thing they're saying. I can find no evidence of it. None. In fact, the only evidence I can find of them withholding information from a court is from him, from his podcast. This didn't happen. And this is on Fox News. They've already been sued once. This did not happen. It is crazy. It is crazy. I'm going to try and keep it calm, but it is alarming how many lies Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are going to stuff into a 35-minute interview.
Then,
by the way, edited, Dan, very edited. I'll show you some. You'll see some of the times it's obviously edited.
They were caught. They lied about it. And you and a few others like Dan and others were brave enough to cover it 6, 7, 8 years ago. And we're still talking about it today because as Congress is working rigorously with us, the Crossfire Hurricane documents are coming fast and hard. And they're being sent there.
Tony said, remind Tex. Listen, Tony, this is your last warning, man. Do not talk about people's spouses. I don't fucking care if you hate Tex. Nobody likes Tex. Don't talk about people's spouses, man. I love you, Tony. But I feel like I've told you that like 10 times. We're not going to talk about people's spouses or kids. Please. We're not going there. You got to stop with that. You're a little too hate. You have a little too much hate, Tony. I love you. I'm working with you. But Jesus Christ, man, don't bring up people's spouses when you want to talk shit about them. Talk shit about him. Cookie said, oh, yeah, I forgot my traditional fuck text in my last super chat. Thanks for the reminder. My apologies. And said, would love to ask Comey how he feels now after propping up Trump's first election win. Alex said, Tex said, hey, dude, we're not doing this shit. Alex and Tony, that's your last warning. Both you guys. We're not talking about people's spouses. I will ban friendlies. That's it. That's the only warning. I don't care how much you don't like somebody. We're not talking about their spouses or their kids.
Unredacted, so we can have full accountability. And that's how you restore what the trust that was lost to the American public when it comes to the FBI.
Yeah, but come on, Director, with all due respect, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I've been demanding accountability for many, many years. You mentioned Comey, Strzok, and the rest. They've got TV shows. They've got media platforms.
Comey doesn't have a TV show. Comey doesn't have a media platform. McCabe doesn't have a media platform, doesn't have a podcast, doesn't have a TV show. In fact, the only person who ever had a podcast was Peter Strzok for a year, and it didn't go very well. But again, she's talking to two people whose job right before this was making millions of dollars off their media platforms. She's accusing Comey and McCabe of doing something they didn't do to the people who did that. Do we see the craziness here? Yeah, everybody knows they got paid to be partisan. They didn't, but these other two guys did. The two that you're talking to right now sure did that.
They're fine. There's been no accountability.
Well, look, it's a fair criticism, but what I will tell people is we weren't here in the FBI in the last 5 years when we had statute of limitations that were still in play, where we could have investigated criminal conduct. Most of these statute of limitations are 5 years old. And we will investigate criminal conduct where we find a righteous case to do so, and the law and the facts allow us to. But a lot of it we're precluded from. So we'll take the criticism, and it's rightfully so. Could we have done more in the past? Sure, people before us could have. But what we can do now...
We'll take the criticism. We'll take the criticism of other people. Yeah, it's fair to criticize them, but not us. These are fucking children. Yeah, we do need to be criticized a lot for what everybody else did, but not us. Is this accountability? We're very accountable. We're gonna blame everything on everybody before us.
Is continue to put out the documents and the information that these people withheld from the American public. And I'm just telling you right now, as much as we know about Crossfire Hurricane, he and I just found out more last week. And we're continuing to work with Congress to put those documents out. That's how vindictive and vicious the former leadership structure here was. Not only did they bastardize the FISA process and lie to the American public, they withheld and hid documentation and put it in rooms where people weren't supposed to look. And it's a good thing.
I look forward to the evidence of this. Now, look, there is the IG report from her. Was it her that did that IG report? I think it's her. He did say that the FBI didn't follow their own protocols. And the FBI did admit, you know what? Yeah, we didn't follow our own protocols on some of this stuff. Mainly in talking about this Steele dossier, one of their rules is that they have to verify all the information. And the Steele dossier was put in, but it was put in as a dossier. So, even just knowing what it was, knowing that the Steele dossier was opposition research, the FBI basically said, we included it because this is the information that's going around. It's important to understand when we're investigating Donald Trump with Russia that these are the claims that are going around. And the Steele dossier is the source of a lot of those claims. And it's the source of a lot of the reasons people were digging. So the Steele dossier was included to show like where people got their start. But the Steele dossier was never presented as factual. And that's the part that they lie about all the time. They tell you that the Steele dossier was presented as verifiable evidence. It wasn't. And that's why the FBI basically said, like, we need to rewrite our rules, because if we're gonna have these rules, I think they're called like the Woods. I want to say it's like the Woods something. I don't know, named after Woods. Woods protocols maybe is what it's called. I should have written that down. Basically what they said is we need to amend the Woods protocols, because we do need to be able to include stuff that isn't verified if it's pertinent to the case. And for the Steele dossier, it was pertinent because it's what Russia was using for leverage. Russia was claiming that this information was true, and they were using that to get leverage over other people. And so whether it's true or not, it is critical to the case to say this is what Russia is trying to do to influence members of the Trump team. So that's why it was included. But Kash Patel, of course, and Dan Bongino, of course they can't just tell you that. Of course they can't just like explain it in a way that makes sense. They have to instead say like, oh, they bastardized the entire process and they pushed lies in Crossfire Hurricane. If you look at what the Inspector General actually said, is he said no laws were broken, but the internal protocols in the FBI, some of those need to be amended, and he recommended some changes for some of them. This was when I debated Maude. This was like her huge contention. After the debate, she went out and she like made a video, and she's like, "You said that he didn't make any changes," and I was like, "Yeah, he didn't." Because they didn't break any laws. But he did say like there were protocols within the FBI, rules that they have set for themselves that they didn't adhere to strictly. That's not even a crime though. They act like Crossfire Hurricane is like this fucking silver bullet. I don't know what for. Like, people pled guilty to the Russian collusion thing. Michael Flynn pled guilty. George Papadopoulos pled guilty. Paul Manafort pled guilty. So why were all these people that were working on the Trump campaign, that were colluding with Russia, why did they plead guilty to colluding with Russia if they weren't guilty? Because of the Steele dossier? Do you see how none of this makes sense? All they want you to do is stay in this in this constant state of everything is corrupt. And they never give you any facts. That's why, like, even today, if any of you came up here to debate Crossfire Hurricane, what you would be saying is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, the protocols weren't necessarily followed. And that's it. Has it proved anything else? Did Donald Trump's team work with Russia in the 2016 election? Abso-fucking-lutely. Our own FBI admits it. Our Senate admits it. Russia admits it. Other intelligence agencies across the world admit it. Multiple members of Trump's team pled guilty to doing it. It happened. So they don't ever tell you that part. They just focus on the part in the FISA application where they used the Steele dossier and it didn't follow their protocols. But it wasn't unlawful. And they don't even have to change their protocols if they don't want to. But because of the Inspector General's report, they have now changed their protocols so that you can admit things like that without it looking like it was the way that Patel is framing it. Patel is framing it so dishonestly.
Here now to clean it up, and you're about to see a wave of transparency.
What do you mean?
Just give us about a week or two.
Okay. Well,
what do you mean? Not telling? Oh, wait, we know all the this idea that there's like all these secrets with Crossfire Hurricane, the Inspector General basically told us everything we need to know about Crossfire Hurricane. The Republican appointed Inspector General, who is a big MAGA guy. We basically know all of this. So anything that they drop now is just going to be ancillary stuff. I'm going to make a prediction right now, and I would appreciate the people in the chat here that were like, Dan Bongino would wipe the floor with you in a debate. First of all, he wouldn't. And that's not because I'm brilliant. It's because he's stupid. And everything that he says relies on like conspiracy theory. If you think Dan Bongino is making like clear, coherent points ever, then I don't think you know how to parse information and figure out what's right and what's wrong. But I would like to hear from you guys a week or two later. Kash Patel said in a week or two, we're going to have a wave of transparency. I'm going to make a prediction right now that whatever they put out, nobody fucking cares about, and it won't prove anything. So we'll see in a week or two. But I expect you guys, because you're honest, I expect you to come back in 2 weeks and be like, you know what, you're right. They didn't tell us anything important.
Well, I can tell you right now that the judge that gave a smack on the wrist on the one agent that lied and, misled the American people, that's the same judge who's back and stopping Donald Trump from doing things, isn't it? Judge Boasberg?
Yeah, I just got to push back.
I got to push real quick. Boasberg refused to hear this. She doesn't even have that fact right. Boasberg actually basically said, like, this case isn't for me. I don't have jurisdiction in this case. The one they're talking about right now, the Boasberg actually refused to hear the case that the Supreme Court just ruled on. Boasberg wouldn't hear it. So she's even got that wrong. They went to Boasberg, but Boasberg didn't rule on it. And now here's Dan Bongino. He's been raging long enough. He's got to push back.
Listen, we've been here 2 months. He's been here a couple more weeks than that. I mean, we've been here 2 months.
Hold on. I got to push back on something because it sounds like you want us to be accountable, and I want to make sure to tell you that we shouldn't be held accountable for anything.
You're dealing with a 38,000 member organization and an approximately $12 billion budget.
Fair point.
And 2 fucking morons that are leading it. 2 coked out fucking morons that are leading it. That's the other party left out. There's a big budget, which cash didn't. Remember last week, they're like, hey, where's your budget, dude? It was due a week ago. When are you going to give it to us? I don't know. You got 2 morons. That's the real problem. It is complicated. It is complex. Maybe that's why you don't put people in charge who don't have any experience and who were podcasters like 12 minutes ago. He's now saying, like, make sure not to blame us for anything.
To expect us in 2 months to dig up what was a 8-year, maybe longer, multi-year politicized investigation with multiple layers of processes, from Woods procedures being just thrown in the garbage can and flushed down the toilet bowl, to multiple layers of accountability.
It's not what happened. It's not what happened. I got a question about this, though. Dan, fucking brilliant Dan with your 130,000 viewers. How do you know all this shit? He's like, we need more than 2 months to show you all this shit, all this corruption. How does he know about it then? If he already knows about it, why can't he show us? Do you see what they're doing here? This is the problem with this. They went in with the premise that Crossfire Hurricane was illegal and they were going to prove it to everybody. And now they're like, oh, well, we can't prove it yet. We've only been here 2 months. Why are you going in with the idea that it was illegal in the first place? Why have you already then decided? See what they're doing here? They're telling you, we're not going to show our work, but we already know that it was bad. We just can't prove that it was bad yet. This is they are admitting on live TV right now. It was live then. They're just admitting on live TV, hey, we're starting with the presumption that this was bad, and we'll let you know later. Otherwise, certainly they could show us, right? How do they know? How do they know the 8 years and the multiple layers? How do they know all this shit if they haven't had time to know all this shit yet?
Where people lied and obfuscated. I'm not asking you to trust me. You want this done right, or you want it done quickly? Because you can't have it both ways. You want it done quickly, we'll do it. And you know what'll happen? Just what happened last time. Those same Spygate.
I also want to know who the fuck he's talking to right now. That's the other thing. Who's he talking to? When he says, you want it done right or you want it done quickly? Who are you talking? Nobody asked you to do it quickly here. I think he just got tired of sitting there. And now he's fighting some straw man about a question she didn't ask. I don't even know who he's talking to.
Collusion perpetrators sued the government, got money, got all this shit. You want that? We'll do it. We'll do it quickly and do it wrong.
But are you saying you found things that even you didn't know about? I mean, you were at the core of this.
Yes. I was the lead Russiagate investigator for the House Intelligence Committee. And
yeah, he worked for the Republicans. And it didn't work. He didn't do a very good job, did he? Sure didn't. He did a pretty shitty job. I was the lead investigator. Oh, yeah? Where were the prosecutions, bud? Where's all the people locked up, bud? What happened? Is he a dog shit attorney? He's just relitigating cases that he lost? Now that I'm the FBI director and I'm coked up out of my fucking mind, I'm going to go relitigate cases that I lost. And that's basically what being a Republican is right now, is you guys are just relitigating the past. And while you're focused on the past, Donald Trump is just fucking torching our economy. And you're like, well, Crossfire Hurricane's coming. Rory said, do we ever get back to political normality? It's going to take a while, man. It's going to take a lot of deprogramming.
And I've been on both your shows in a prior life talking about it. And I'm telling you and the American public that we have now found material and information and people who wanted to hide it from the world since we got in these seats. And we, as the deputy said, we are trying to do it in a fashion where not only are we informing the American public of what happened, but we can have accountability for it. And that takes a little bit more time. And when you layer on the fact that we are rolling out our priorities on violent crime and defending the homeland, you know, we're running a three-part animal here, and we're going 100 miles an hour on each single one.
So much so I can't even provide a budget. I can't even provide the American people transparency. When I got sworn in, we will be the most transparent FBI in the history. Where's all this evidence of Crossfire Hurricane you're talking about? Yeah, it's coming. Where's your budget? Yeah, it's coming. What have they done? What are they providing transparency on right now? Have they provided so far? 8 minutes in, have they been transparent about anything? No, they've just said a bunch of things about the previous administration, just their opinions. They can't back up any of it. There's no transparency, and this is the problem, Republicans, that I wish you guys could figure out before it's too late. Why do you care? Why do you care to defend them? Call balls and strikes. Either they're providing transparency or they're not, and they're not. And we all should be able to agree on that. Now, you might say they haven't had time to give transparency yet. And look, that's actually that's fair. But why are you giving them the benefit of the doubt? Why are you ever giving anybody in the government the benefit of the doubt? Until they're transparent, why are we calling them transparent? Because they say it a lot? Oh, we say we're going to be transparent. So you're just like, yeah, they are. If you start with the idea that you're going to trust your government because they're not the other side, then how much longer do you get lied to? How many more times does the president and his spokesperson have to tell you that this will not this will not increase the deficit in spending? How many more times are you going to let the FBI director say, I'm fully transparent, and not give you a budget? How long do you hold on to that? Like, oh, no, they are transparent. Every other FBI director has done it. Everybody else has been able to figure out how to do a fucking budget, but not these two coked up morons. No, not them. They're too busy waking up every day and beating off to punching immigrants in the face. Like, that seems to be all they care about.
Important.
I want to add to that, too, because what the director's saying is right. You got to remember, we come in the morning, there's a portfolio of 100 level 10 items. If it's a level 9, which is a pretty big freaking deal, someone else fixed it. The only thing that gets to my desk or his is a level 10. That's the entire day. Look at his schedule any given day. I'll show you the palm card I have. It is filled from 7:30 to he leaves 7 at night, 6:30 at night. It's filled all day. We just can't focus on one thing. You want New York to go boom? DC to go boom? You want an OC organization to go hack into some...
What the fuck is he talking about? What is he saying? Why did he just start talking? He's fighting. I don't know who he's talking about right now. Why is he even saying this? He's a psycho. This guy's an absolute fucking psycho. They're just talking, and he's like, oh, you guys think we don't do shit? Oh, we do shit. If we didn't do shit, this whole fucking place is going to go boom. You want New York to go boom? You want DC to go boom? Look at my schedule. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Chill. Nobody asked you about any of that. What? This guy just, every time he gets a chance to speak, it's just fear-mongering. What the fuck are you doing? This guy's a lunatic.
Cyber network and crack all of Fox News' holdings. We're dealing with all that stuff, too. Everything's a priority. Everything's a priority. This is one of many things we're doing. It's not an excuse. It's just reality.
Now, the Democrats are turning on you, right? I mean...
Excuses can be reality, by the way. Like, again, what is he talking about? Why? I don't know why he's involved in this interview. Just every 5 minutes he comes in and he's like, we're all going to die. We are all so fucked if we're not here. It's like, all right, chill, dude. Chill.
I saw your hearing the other day, and critics have accused you of using the FBI to target political enemies. So set the record straight. You wrote an entire book about it, Government Gangsters. Tell us, how do you respond to the attacks?
Very simply, the FBI's prior leadership left us an institution, that is a police force for America and the world, that allowed a fentanyl overdose to occur and kill an American citizen every 7 minutes. That prior FBI's leadership, Comey, McCabe.
It's not the like again. Wouldn't that be Border Patrol? Do you see how he does this? Like, you're politicizing the FBI. The people accuse you of politicizing the FBI. Okay, well, instead of answering that question, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about people that came before me. That's all I'm going to ever do. I'm never going to answer a question directly. I'm not going to own up to the fact that I am incredibly political. Let's just remember, this guy writes books. The Plot Against the King by Kash Patel, where Donald Trump is literally the king. Government Gangsters, The Deep State, The Truth, and the Battle for Our Democracy. Where he put the hit list on people. Like, this dude is incredibly political. And in this book, in Government Gangsters, he has a list of people that he's going to go after on a political level. So when she asks, like, you're accused of this, he's like, let me just never answer this question. I'm going to talk about Comey some more.
Left us an FBI that allowed for a woman or child to be raped every 6.5 minutes in this country. That same leadership structure left us an FBI that permitted a man or woman to be killed.
What's that sniff doing there, Cash? How come you guys are all so sniffy on camera? Got those big-ass pupils and a lot of sniffing.
Killed twice an hour in this country. That's our response to them. When I go to Congress and I go to the Hill, I say, hey, I'm not policing your neighborhood because it's a Republican or Democratic. I'm asking you for help on what your priorities are and what your resources needs are and where you need training, and we're going to send them to you. That's why we're putting 50.
He was just in front of the FBI. He didn't do any of that. So now he's just lying. We saw him in front of the FBI. He went there and they're like, hey, what money do you need? He's like, I don't know. Like, do you have a budget? Uh-uh. How are we supposed to know where to give you money? What are you using the money for? I don't know. Well, we can't give you money without a budget. Uh-uh. When are you going to have a budget? Uh-uh. He's just like revisiting. I'm pretty sure what he's doing, I'm pretty sure that the only reason this interview exists is because he got absolutely embarrassed in front of Congress. So now he's coming and he's just rewriting history. When I go before Congress, I tell them, this isn't political. I'm in your neighborhood to solve this problem. We saw you in front of Congress, dipshit. You didn't say any of that. He didn't say any of this in front of Congress. He's just rewriting history. What happened is he went to Congress and he got his pants pulled down and they're like, bro, one, why are you wearing a pull-up? And two, do you have a budget? And he said, I'm wearing a pull-up just because, and I don't know where my budget is, and I don't know when I'm going to get it for you. But, like, we all saw what you did in front of Congress, bud. You weren't this big badass. I go there and I tell them, I'm here to protect you, motherfuckers, and you're supposed to help me. Get me that money. What money do you need, sir? How much do you need? None of this happened. We just saw it.
1,500 FBI employees into the field and outside of Washington, D.C. Now, if the Democrats want to play politics with that, they're the elected officials. They get to say what they want. But yelling at me and Bongino, we could take it all day long.
I don't even understand.
I bet, bud. I bet. But you couldn't. Because you were a little bitch in front of Congress. You just yelled at him. Bongino can't figure out what the fuck we're talking about in this interview. He just, has a rage coke snap every 5 minutes. And it's like, they're all going to kill us. They're all going to kill us. These are psychos. I couldn't believe when I was watching this interview. It's like, good Lord. Like, no decorum, no ability to, like, state anything. She asked, the question again there was like, what do you say to people who accuse you of being partisan? I say everybody else is bad.
And why? Why did they do that? I mean, why put the FBI and its reputation at risk? Well, it was just to win an election? Why?
Because they're weak. Because they're weak. I hate weak people. I can't stand it. They didn't have... we're on TV, so I already...
Such a fucking psycho. They're weak. I fucking hate the weak. I'm rock fucking hard right now. My erections are strong. Bro, get it together. He's a psycho.
Said BS once, but they didn't have the guts, the courage, or the character to do the right thing. They did the easy thing.
What was
Donald
the right
Trump
thing?
became a convenient political football. They thought they could leverage. They thought they thought with the media on their side that they'd get away with it.
I know that
Get away with what? What is he talking about? And that's where Fox edited it, by the way. I'm going to go back for a second because they edit out a lot right here. I hope we get to see the full interview because I think I have the sneaking suspicion Dan loses his shit and they have to cut it out because he's a psycho. But just listen to the cuts here.
At risk. Well, it was just to win an election? Why?
Because they're weak. Because they're weak. I hate weak people. I can't stand it. They didn't have. We're on TV, so I already said BS once. But they didn't have the guts.
That's a cut. Don't know if they cut anything out there. But it could have just been because he paused.
The courage or the character to do the right thing. They did the easy thing. Donald Trump became a convenient political football. They thought they could leverage. They thought they thought with the media on their.
Okay, just listen. They thought they could use. They thought they could leverage. Just think about the media. He's not saying anything. What is he saying? What are you talking about, dude? It's just like a series of buzzwords put together haphazardly into, I guess you could call it a sentence. He's just like starting ideas over and over, and he's not saying anything. I have no clue what he's talking about right now.
Their side that they'd get away with it.
I know that there are cells.
And then there's the cut. Get away with what? What did they get away with? She started, she's like, what were they going to get away with? Are they ever going to tell us what they got away with here at some point? What are we talking about here?
Drug trafficking cells and human trafficking cells. How significant is this in America?
It's everywhere. I mean, when you open up the border, look, that's not a political statement. The border was open for 4 years.
That's a political statement, you dumb shit. There's no such thing as an open border. There's no such thing as a closed border. It's as open now as it was then. It's open. It was open the whole time. You could go down there. I live in a border state. That motherfucker's been open as long as I've been alive. It's only a political statement. This is what they do. It's the Jedi mind tricks that work on you. This is not political, and then says something political and stupid. The border was open. It's been open. I traveled to and from Mexico during those times. It was open. There's no such thing as an open border. You're literally using political talking points to say it's not political.
So what happens is crime metastasizes. What happens is you have hundreds of thousands of illegals come across, and
then why is crime? Sorry to cut it. I have to cut everything. Crime went down. When we let all these people in, crime goes up. Then why did it go down? How does that work? If we let in more immigrants, then crime goes up. It went down, but it goes up, but it went down. It just goes up. It went down. It's still going down. All these people came in, crime dropped. What do you do about that? This is the problem with a coked up moron as the FBI director. He's just saying shit that he used to say on his podcast. He's relying on old data. That's what he's actually doing here. What you saw in 2021 and 2022, you saw an increase in both violent crime, but more than violent crime, you saw an increase in things like larceny and theft. The same type of stuff that you saw in 2008 and 2009. When people are poor, when people don't have money, crime goes up. And after the economy reopened, after you had 2 stimulus, it just dropped back down. So he's now saying all of that crime was actually caused by immigration. It was caused by poverty. And then it came back down. So his talking points are 3 years old here. But he's lazy, he's a cokehead, and he's a political fucking hack. And so when Republicans keep telling you this shit, that all this open border led to more crime, just ask them, then why did violent crime go down? Somebody explain that to me. If it goes down, how did it go up? You can't go up by going down. I'm pretty sure. I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure that if crime goes down, it's not going up.
a bunch of them are really bad criminals. Not all of them, but a bunch of them. And then they nest into societies. And this is why we're rolling out Mexican street gang task forces across the country.
Yeah, Zach, this is the thing. That's the problem with you, Zach, is that I'm telling you things that are statistically true, and you're so fucking bird-brained and so invested in the cult of Donald Trump that when I tell you factual things, you're like, you're a fucking joke, man. How could you even say that? Because it's true. And you're mad that I just go look it up. Zach, go look it up. Go look up violent crime by year. All right, fuck it, we'll do it. Here's violent crime by year. Son of a bitch. This is violent crime since 1990 to 2023. Does it look like it's going up to you? Here's 2022. This is the spike in 2022. It was going down. It was going down. We had the pandemic. We had a spike. You had stimulus spike, and then it's going down. And 2024 was we're waiting on the statistics in 2024. The FBI is projecting the violent crime. It dropped again in 2024. So just explain to me how violent crime went up when it went down. That's all we're wondering. And look, we act like the world is getting more and more violent. I was around in 1992. I was around for these days. I was around here. Here's when I graduated high school in 2004. The world, the United States has less crime now than in 2004. Way less. We have been getting significantly less violent as a country. But violence doesn't, like, if you talk about violence, you ignore the fact that these two people are fucking idiots because they just have you scared. They're like, oh, these guys are tough on crime. No, they're not. They're tough on intelligence. They're real tough on intelligence. They show up and they fight intelligence and statistics every single day. It's the only thing they're fighting. They're great on stupidity. They're great on talking points. Fucking stupid when it comes to crime.
Because it's not the international gangs that are just the problem. It's these inner city gangs that exist in one or two towns here and there and have metastasized and taken over the drug trade, the sex trafficking trade, the child forced labor trade, and the gang trade. They are all in, and no one has been focusing on them because our cities and our elected leadership has allowed them to live without being policed. But that's over now that Dan and I are in the seat.
This is so scary.
Now, what kind of crime is skyrocketing? What kind of crime? I wouldn't say skyrocketing, but what kind of crime is going up in this country? Does anybody know off the top of their head? Like there are particular crimes that are going up. Does anybody know? Trafficking is one of them. That was good. It was good to have them talk about trafficking. In fact, the FBI just recently arrested, I think it was like 219 people for human trafficking, all of them American citizens. Yeah. White-collar crime is going up. I just want you to remember that. White-collar crime is going up. I think $3.7 trillion last year in white-collar crime. I think that was a record. $3.7 trillion. Just remember that for later in this interview.
What do you want to say to families out there, mothers who are afraid for their young girls that they may get taken?
I want to put everyone at ease watching this today. There is, I hate cliches, but there really is a new sheriff in town. His name's Donald J. Trump. This administration...
He's not a sheriff, you dumb bitch. He's not the sheriff. He's the president. Got a new president. I hate cliches. So instead of calling him the president, I'm going to call him the sheriff, and I'm going to use his full government name.
In conjunction with General Bondi and our director.
They also keep doing this weird thing where they keep calling Attorney General Bondi General Bondi. Like they think they're so... These guys are just playing cops and robbers. That's what they're playing right now. They're just... This is just a cosplay to them. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but like if I get a pool noodle and go to the park and LARP with my friends and dress up in costumes, how's that any different than being a Republican? It's not. It's just not. It's the same fucking thing.
Kash Patel. I am in the briefing, Maria, with the five of us. Emil, the PDAG, Todd, the DAG, AG, Kash, and me, every morning over at DOJ. The attitude every morning from the president on down, he, the president of the United States, wants this FBI to be able to, in 1 month, 6 months, a year, or 2 years.
That's your problem, Kristen. You're just scared, dude. You're just scared. Why report a crime when you know the perpetrator is only going to get a slap on the wrist? You're trying to make up excuses for the fact that every day you wake up and you don't think for yourself, so you just let these people scare you. You're just scared, Kristen. That's it. You're just scared. And you're letting them scare you. You're letting them lie to you every single day. And they're lying to you so that you'll keep voting for them. And they're voting, and you're voting for them, hoping they'll clean up this imaginary crime that, like, we're actually cleaning up, that our country's done a remarkably good job cleaning up over the last 25 years, and we're progressively getting better. And they want you to talk only about this, so you ignore the financial crimes, the stuff that actually hurts you. Most of us will never be victims, like either ourselves or our family members. Most of us won't be victims of violent crime. The overwhelming majority of people here will not be victims of violent crime, especially at the hands of an immigrant. Almost nobody here will be subject to that. But all of us will probably be victims of a financial crime. Almost all of us are victims of the bastardization of our economy and of our laws and our tax policy. We're all getting fucked for that. And these criminals are getting away with economic murder right now, and they want you to talk about anything but that. So they're just going to keep filling your head full of fear. That's why they brought on two propagandists, two of the most effective propagandists in right-wing media, and put them in charge of the FBI. They're there to scare you every day. And they don't even have, they may not even know that's why they're in that position. But Dan Bongino is here to be a psycho. Be like, I'm tough and even I'm scared. And if I'm scared, you should be scared. We're all scared. We're scared of it. We're scared of immigrants. And then that's all you think about. And then you don't care when, like, white collar crime is just bending you over and taking all your money.
Wants to be able to get out in front of the American people and say, your lives are noticeably different. He doesn't want fairy tales, Aesop's fables. He doesn't want any of that stuff. He wants people to be able to touch it and feel it. I don't care if you're in Stewart, Florida, or Harlem, New York. He wants you to walk outside and say, wow, my neighborhood does look different.
Where are the biggest cells in the country, and how does it work?
By the way, Aesop's, I don't know if he thinks like all fables are Aesop's fables. Like, Aesop's fables are very specific. It's like anthropomorphic animals. It was weird that he said Aesop's fables right there. He's just a guy that, like, says words he's not sure what they mean. Talks smart but isn't smart.
Are there spotters? Like, how does it work?
It's based on a variety of factors. So when it comes to trafficking, you got to look at the interstate system and look at the intersections of the interstate system running through the Midwest and across the country. Then you just got to look for hard evidence. I didn't know this till my confirmation process, but Memphis, Tennessee is the homicide capital of America per capita.
Red state.
Didn't know that. We have a problem there. We're now addressing it. We're rolling out one of our task forces in the state of Tennessee. But we also know that Ohio possesses
the highest rates of human trafficking: Nevada, Mississippi, Florida. What do they all have? What do all those states have in common? One, they're red states, and two, they're not border states. Weird, huh? Isn't that weird? Remember, who was that just said everybody knows the Democrats are the criminals? Got it.
Is the roadway system where the trafficking is through the roof just because of the interstate. So you have to get out there in the field, not just let the FBI agents and intel folks get out there and do the work, but partner with state and local law enforcement, which is a priority, and tribal law enforcement. That's a big, big deal for us. We are not forgetting about Indian country. They suffer from the same violent crime that we do in the rest of America, and we're going to help them. And that's how you learn the ground-based level.
Like how I said tribal, and then he remembered he's like Donald Trump's administration, so you have to say Indian just to be like a little bit of a prick. Yeah, we got to still be disrespectful, though.
Facts that you need to deploy our assets. We're not coming up with anything fancy. We're just attacking the problem, but we're smart enough to go after the information and say, that's where the problem is because you told us it's there. Now we know we're going.
That's interesting. What about the big cities? I mean,
yeah, you're right about Nevada. It's more of a purple state. It is controlled currently by the Democrats in the legislature.
I heard about Tren de Aragua being in New York City.
Yeah, we're about to ruin your summer if you're a bad guy. So I'm just warning you now, like, don't buy movie tickets because you're probably not going to cash them in. So
he thinks he's so fucking hard. He thinks he's such a fucking badass. Don't buy your movie tickets. You can't get. Nobody does that anymore, dude. We got fucking cell phones. Nobody buys movie tickets a month in advance anymore. You're not going to be able to cash in your movie tickets. It's going to be a bad summer if you're a bad guy. We're here to fuck shit up. Shut up, dude. Just chill. have some herbal tea and chill the fuck out.
The director and I put something together in conjunction with our DOJ partners, General Bondi.
What do you mean harder than a Twitch streamer? This bitch is a Twitch streamer. We had the same job until like 2 weeks ago. We did the same thing. We had the same fucking job. That's what his last job was. My job right now. It's the same job.
Dag Blanche, actually this morning. And if you're a violent criminal, this FBI under our leadership, we don't care who gets the credit. All we care about is making your streets safer, actually safer.
All right.
What
does that have to do with anything? Why? He just jumps in and says crazy shit. Every time he speaks, it has nothing to do with the interview. It's just him like, I got to be hard, man.
Up the assassination attempts on President Trump's life. Why don't we know more today, more than a year later, as we continue our exclusive from the FBI?
Just a reminder, Jen wants me to remind you guys we are crowdfunded. We do have a gift goal. The gift goal is currently updated. So that you don't get yelled at by Jen, or I don't get yelled at by Jen. Anybody who could help out with that would be great. We could start a dollar trend right now. It's like 1,000 people here. We can knock that goal out in a second. Brad said, we just found out Grandpa is now addicted to Viagra. Nobody is taking it harder than Grandma. That's tough. Danny, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you, my friend.
Welcome back. President Trump is proposing spending cuts across most federal agencies, including the FBI. As we continue our exclusive interview, FBI Director Kash Patel told me the FBI's real estate portfolio is about to shrink dramatically, but the mission will not change.
I want to get to a few specifics, and I know you can't talk about any active investigations, so our viewers understand.
Loser has 1-0, Mr. Big Angry. It's 1-0. You said looser. You said I'm a looser, but it's loser, Loser.
Understand that, but how come we don't have more information on the assassination attempts on President Trump?
There's two reasons, two open, ongoing prosecutions. So 2 of the investigations are obviously closed because the individuals are dead, but there's 2 live prosecutions, and so we can't get ahead of the federal court case. A lot of that information will come out in the federal court cases, but we have personally invested our time in making sure that we have looked at any possible international connections to terrorism and adversaries alike. And we've both been down to Quantico. We've both done the laboratory testing. We've both seen the explosives analysis. We've both seen the firearm and physically held it. We are all in on these investigations.
Are we going to be surprised at what you learned?
You know what, Maria? Kash is not kidding. We've been personally briefed extensively on every single.
All right, so this is where we start getting some real questions, and we can stop making fun of them. Here's the part where MAGA, you guys are going to be pissed. So buckle the fuck up. She wants to. You guys all want these details. You guys are convinced that there's like some big conspiracy theory behind the assassination attempts of Trump. And they're saying, like, are you going to be surprised? Just listen to what they say. I want you to hear the details of what they say.
Detail, nugget, tendril of this case. One is actively in court right now, so out of respect for the case, it's probably more appropriate that I stay quiet on that. However, I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth, and whether you like it or not is up to you. If there was a big explosive there, right? Given my history as a Secret Service agent and my personal friendship as a director does with the president, give me one logical, sensible reason we would not have. If you can think of one, there isn't. There in some of these cases, the there you're looking for is not there. And I know people, I get it. I understand.
He's having to apologize to his fans right now. Let's be very clear what he's doing. He's apologizing to his own fans because he said that this was obviously a deep state operation to take out Trump. And I'm going there to the FBI. I'm giving up my podcast, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And now he's apologizing to his fans because there's no there there. The same thing we've been saying forever. This appeared to just be a very confused kid. And if you looked at the evidence, it was pretty easy to tell. This guy was looking up where Biden would be and where Trump would be. And he wanted to apparently try and assassinate somebody. That's what he tried to do. That's what the data said. Or not the data, the evidence said. And we've all been saying that forever. And then people like Dan Bongino, the reason he has so many fans is because these guys they're a little different. They're willing to go on and pitch conspiracy theories every single day. So if you go back and you watch Dan Bongino clips and you want to, in fact, let's see if we can just find one. I probably should have done this earlier. Let's just see if we can find a Dan Bongino clip on this shooter. Let's see what he had to say about the shooter when he was a podcaster. Bongino, what was the Butler shooter? Let's just see. And I'm going to guess it was a lot less measured. Here we go. Just yelling at people again.
Important question for today's show is who the hell was this guy working with or communicating with? I have a theory I'm going to throw out there. Now, I told you when I'm speculating, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it based on evidence. I'm speculating and I'm indicating this is a theory. It's an operating theory I've been working with, but as more information comes in, I'm pretty confident I'm going to be right in the end. We do know now, because the media is reporting, he had these encrypted messaging accounts. Who was this guy communicating with, folks? I think this thing may be pretty deep. I'm going to throw an article out there that appears random, but it's not. It's a Jerusalem Post article from July of 2024. It's about Iranian intelligence operatives and how they recruit Israelis for espionage. One of the things they do is target young kind of loner men who have no real relationship with women or anything like that.
Sorry, guys. I didn't know Dan Bongino was going to insult all the Republicans in our chat right now. I apologize for that. On behalf of Dan Bongino, I just want to apologize to the Republicans here for him pointing out that MAGA targets young incel boys who are angry. So that's Dan, though. Dan said that, not me.
The celibate type, but it's not intentional, if you know what I mean. And these Iranian women will target them in kind of what we would call honeypot operations. They've been doing it in Israel for a long time. Here's what I think could be going on here. And I want to just say in advance.
Isn't this great? Literally the first thing I searched. I haven't seen this. The first thing that pulled up when I said Dan Bongino, Butler, Pennsylvania, is him claiming that because this kid had MAGA ties, it must be a honeypot situation.
I am not in any way suicidal, so everyone knows I love my life. New house is great. New gym is awesome. Everything is good. Unfortunately, I'm only half kidding, okay? The Secret Service is known about an Iranian intelligence plot to kill Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, was it the acting defense secretary, I believe, at the time, or the NSA, and Donald Trump. They have known about it forever, for 4 plus years, 5 years, okay? They've known about this plot. How bad is this going to look? Everybody tracking me now? How bad is this going to look if it turns out later this kid was part of some honeypot operation by the Iranians? They knew about an Iranian plot for years, still refused additional security measures while knowing about the Iranian plot, and maybe this kid was a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, I mean,
Important question
you guys
for today's show.
You guys were a little upset with me, about Dan Bongino when I said he's a conspiracy theorist. So now here he is in the official capacity. And that's why I say, like, he's apologizing to you guys right now. He was just a propagandist.
That I stay quiet on that. However, I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth. And whether you like it or not is up to you. If there was a big explosive there, right? Given my history as a Secret Service agent and my personal friendship as a director does with the president, give me one logical, sensible reason we would not have. If you can think of one, there isn't. There in some of these cases, the there you're looking for is not there. And I know people I get it. I understand. It's not there. If it was there, we would have told you.
Well, the other issue.
All right. Red Fox Place said, sorry, RTP does his research. RTP fact checks. RTP does not make up info to fearmonger. He's not lying. Truth will out. I appreciate that. I do try to do that. Thank you.
That's been talked about recently is this mortgage fraud and the FBI opening a formal case against Leticia James.
So again, ongoing cases, and we take our ongoing.
Natalie, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Let's see. David says for running a train on Jay. Text said I bought into the hype with them and I was wrong. I think he's talking about Bongino. They suck and should have stayed podcasters. Uh-oh. The MAG is on our, the Nazis are on our side again. That's not good.
Investigations very seriously because we don't want to do what our predecessors did, which is talk about them ad infinitum in the public and then nothing happens. This case, I can tell you, is being handled by our professional pros who are subject matter experts.
The professional pros. Be very excited that the professional pros are on it. By the way, you guys were so mad that Trump got invested for mortgage fraud. Remember how mad you guys were? Nobody should be investigated for this crime. It's a political witch hunt. That's my Alex Jones. And then here we are.
Reporting.
Notice how none of us give a fuck? This is what happens. When a politician or somebody in the government gets investigated for a crime, just let it play out. Notice how we don't give a fuck when somebody on our side gets investigated, like when Hunter was investigated, when you spent 4 years investigating Joe Biden and nobody stopped it. We just let it happen and nobody gave a fuck. This is what normal people do when people in the government who none of us trust get investigated. But when Trump gets investigated, you guys want to shut down the investigation. You start with that premise, like you shouldn't even be allowed to look at him. This is not fair. Notice how nobody's out here like screaming for people not to investigate Leticia James. And if she's guilty, we'll be like, all right, she's guilty. And it won't change any of the facts that Donald Trump was also guilty. See how this works? Like even criminals can investigate other criminals. You guys you just want her to be guilty. Like that proves that Trump wasn't guilty, which it doesn't do. And by the way, I have the sneaking suspicion nothing will happen with this. Frankie said, thank you for your show. It's getting better by the day. Congratulations. The show is getting better by the day. Congratulations. Thank you. Francisco, thank you also for the super chat there.
Directly to headquarters, which reports to Dan and I. This case, along with others, because it is a case of great public importance. And unlike other leaders who previously sat in these seats.
That's a great importance, by the way. I want to point something out here, that he's talking about a financial crime after they just said all this other crime. And he's saying, like, financial crime is very important. We take it very seriously.
We don't prejudge any case. We don't care what party elected you to what. It doesn't matter to us. It's irrelevant. If you broke the law, we are going to find out and we are going to investigate you. And then we are going to discuss that matter with the Department of Justice. And this is one of the things that, if your viewers take away nothing else from this interview, the FBI does not make prosecutorial decisions. You asked them.
Yes, they do. He's wrong. I looked it up myself. Yes, they do. Not always, but yes, they do. They absolutely can make prosecutorial decisions. They do not need the AG to assign it to them. This is not true.
In the beginning, how the FBI was weaponized? Well, the FBI hijacked the constitutional responsibility of the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, and James Comey and others specifically decided what cases to prosecute and not prosecute. Don't believe
which they are allowed to do.
Me? Go to the videotape in the Hillary Clinton investigation. We don't.
I believe you. And that's the investigation that got Donald Trump elected in the first place. This guy that they started with, like, James Comey was hyper-partisan. Now what he's referencing is when James Comey decided to investigate Hillary Clinton. And it was not against the law. It was against procedural norms. Procedurally, normally, James Comey would let the DOJ know. There would be, at the very least, a heads up, and they might have the DOJ announce it instead. But he was afraid that the DOJ might be too loyal to Hillary Clinton, so he announced it on his own. Did he violate procedural norms? Yes. Is it against the law? It is not. Does the FBI regularly determine who they're going to investigate? Absolutely. That doesn't mean that the AG can't also make those prosecutorial decisions. I checked all this stuff. I don't know. This guy's supposed to be a lawyer. He's the head of the FBI. Why is he up here saying things that just aren't true? And now he looks like Dan Bongino got Dan Bongino got caught doing his 85th coffee enema of the day, and he's getting scolded. He's like, I don't care, my rectum is clean.
Don't decide prosecutions, and neither does any agent or intel analyst. We have great partners under General Bondi. We work with them and discuss the matter with them, but the prosecutorial decision is with them.
So is there a directive now to focus on fighting real crime, look at illegal migration, look at the sex trafficking, and scale back on the white-collar business-type crime?
I don't want to say that we were going to, quote unquote, scale back. What we do is we look at the intelligence and we rely on our 30.
Jen says, I never want to hear MAGA use the word meritocracy ever again. Danielle, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. And Brad said, we just sound. Oh, I read that one. Thanks.
6,000 employees to say, this is where stuff's going wrong. But right now, the reality of where stuff's going wrong more than counterterrorism, which is my wheelhouse and my background, is the narcotics industry and the sex trafficking industry. So there's more and more resources put on that and on the removal proceedings, which we're working with our partners at DHS on. That's just the reality today. But that's not to say we're forgetting about white-collar crime and
white-collar crime is skyrocketing. White-collar crime is going up at faster rates than any of these. So what he's saying is like we're just putting our resources where they need to be. Look, we just got to tell you, most of you aren't going to be affected by these other crimes. It's important that we investigate and prosecute these other crimes as well. But putting white-collar crime on the back burner is silly. It's absolutely silly. We are at historic lows for violent crime, historic lows. And we're saying that, we're at historic highs so that they don't investigate white-collar crime. Who do you think would love Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to be in charge? These guys wake up every day and they're cops, right? They're like legit. They call themselves cops. These are like the ACAB cops. They want to put people in handcuffs. They want to take down violent criminals. They want to have photo ops. They want to do all that like macho cops shit. What they don't want to do is investigate white collar crime where they don't get to take a photo op and act like badasses when they leave this administration and they don't have a bunch of stories for their podcast. Because nobody really cares about the story of how they brought down like a crypto scammer. But does it affect more people? Hell yeah, it does. Hell yeah, it does. That's where they should be putting a big portion of their focus, and they're putting virtually none on it. They're pulling away focus from white-collar crimes that are accelerating right now into to focus on crimes where we're at historic lows.
Or terrorism.
That's what you said. You said if you're hurting a child, taking away a child's innocence, we're coming for you.
Yeah, with that knock at the door, it's on Amazon. That's going to be us. This is a huge job.
See how they cut that off too? Knock at the door, it's Amazon. It's not Amazon, it's us, bitch. Bro, shut up. You fucking psycho. He is such a psycho. Just go from what Kash said like to what he said. He just speaks in like angry catchphrases.
On the removal proceedings, which we're working with our partners at DHS on. That's just the reality today. But that's not to say we're forgetting about white-collar crime and counterterrorism.
That's what you said. You said if you're hurting a child, taking away a child's innocence, we're coming for you.
Yeah, with that knock at the door, it's on Amazon. That's going to be us. This is a huge job. And Maria, not only does it destroy innocence.
I want to know what they cut out right there. I want to know what they cut out. He's such a psycho.
I said to everyone in the room, say week 2 or 3, when Kash and I put Restoring Justice together to go get these mutts off the street, these kiddie pornographers and these animals, right? I said to everyone in the room, I said, you know why this is going to matter to America? Because everyone in the room is a child or a parent, right? There's no immaculate conceptions here, right? I love Jesus, but there's no one in the room, right? I said, this matters. And not only that, it creates generational crime because abused kids then become abusers in a lot of these cases. I said, we have a chance right now. I said, we got to go make their lives painful, these bad guys. And we went and we locked up in a month, 400? We saved 115 kids. And you haven't even seen the beginning because those 400, a lot of them are talking. And when you log onto that network next, you have no idea what we're doing. You think you're safe in your dark web? I promise you are absolutely not safe. You have no idea what we can do.
Are you serious?
Let me say, I'm happy that they did that. I went through, I looked at those arrest records. They absolutely did that. Great. But what about the other stuff? Can you not walk and chew gum? You can't do multiple things at once? All I want to do is arrest bad guys. I want to thump them on the head. And then I want to lay on their back. And I want to hump them a little bit before I cuff them. That's all I want to do.
An increase in the number of potential agents wanting to come in and work with you?
Look, the FBI is 38,000 when we're fully manned, which we're not. In the National Capital Region, in the 50-mile radius around Washington, D.C., there were 11,000 FBI employees. That's like a third of the workforce, a third of the crime.
Jorge, you're out of your fucking mind, man. I don't care. I don't know if you're new to this. I don't give a flying fuck about Democrats. I'm tired of you Republicans. This is why I got annoyed with whataboutism earlier. I didn't think Joe Biden was a great president. I criticized him all the time. I don't think I think Nancy Pelosi's probably a crook. Criticize her all the time. You do this thing. This is just you. This is you being too fucking stupid to see what you're seeing right now, and you don't like criticism against your side. So when you see it, your knee-jerk reaction is, this guy would never say it if it was Democrats. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. The Democrats just left those Republicans in office. They just left Andrew McCabe in there. They just left the Trump appointee in there. This is silly. My problem here is not that there's some good work being done. They just pointed out some good work that's being done by the FBI. I just don't think that they should ignore white-collar crimes. I don't think that the people who are trying to do crimes and who have paid Trump millions of dollars to overlook their crimes, I don't think that should happen in this country. I don't think you should be able to bribe the president to hire two fucking dipshits to run the FBI so that you don't have to worry about financial crime. That's it.
Crime doesn't happen here. So we're taking 1,500 of those folks and moving them out. Every state's getting a plus up. And I think when we do things like that, we inspire folks in America to become intel analysts and agents and say, we want to go work at the FBI because we want to go fight violent crime and we want to get sent out into the country to do it. And that's what we're doing. In the next 3, 6, 9 months, we're going to do that hard. And, I didn't know that I was going to do this, but I'm going to announce it on your show anyway. This FBI is leaving the Hoover building because this building is unsafe for our workforce. And
get mute Rock out of here. We're not talking about Germany, you fucking loser. I know you want to come in here and do like your anti-Muslim shit. I get it. Shut the fuck up. Stay on topic. You don't get to come in here and derail this with your European. I don't know about Europe. Go talk to a European podcast. Rock's got to be muted.
We want the workforce.
He just gave up a big nugget.
We want the American men and women to know, if you're going to come work at the premier law enforcement agency in the world, we're going to give you a building that's commensurate with that. And that's not this place.
I mean, the Trump administration has proposed a $500 million cut to the FBI's funding for 2026. How are you going to maintain the effectiveness if you don't have the resources?
We got to get smart and stop wasting money. We got to stop thinking up fantasies in Maryland and building $5 billion new buildings. We have people who are able to do the job on the budgets we're given. And we are going to work with the president and his team.
They're going to do it by not prosecuting white-collar crime. That's why they're cutting the IRS. Donald Trump is cutting deals with his buddies, his rich buddies who don't want to be investigated and who don't want to live by the rules. So how do you do that without changing the law? How do you do that without being openly corrupt? You cut the funds for the IRS. You get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You gut the SEC. You gut the FBI. And they're telling you in this interview, like, yeah, we're going to focus only on these crimes. We're not going to worry about white collar crime. Why? Because their budget's being slashed. And so they're going to move everybody out of the Pentagon, and they're going to move and look, again, you can do both. I think that like trafficking is one of the few violent crimes where it's going up. Like those numbers are going up. We should absolutely be focused on child trafficking. We should also be focused on other crimes that are going up, like white-collar crime. But when Trump says we're going to cut, he's doing this to help his friends. That's all we've done. That's all this presidency has done, is removed all the barriers for rich people to take all the money, and he's done nothing for you. And you're still in here like, well, if it was the Democrats, you don't care about you? This is what we voted for. This is why you guys lose. We get it. But at some point, like reality is going to show up. We're talking about a week or two. Like within a week or two, you're going to see prices raise. If Trump doesn't abandon this shit with China, you're about to see real fucking problems in this country. Financial problems. And we're just begging you. But because you trust Trump so much and you think he has a plan, and you don't think the plan is to hand over control to his billionaire buddies, it's going to be too late. We're just going to get there, and you won't realize it until it's far too late. I don't think there's a whole lot we can do for you on that part. You're not going to believe me. It does feel like yelling at a wall sometimes. But that's why I'm showing this interview. Is like this is just hyper partisanship, masturbatory. Like, oh, we're cops. We want to cuff some people. That's what this administration is giving us.
Because he and his team know they have.
My solution to China is stop the fucking tariff war. Literally, before Trump got here, we didn't have a fucking problem. You tell me what the problem is in China. They're charging tariffs. What's the problem? They're charging tariffs. What's the problem? What was the big problem with China? How was China fucking up your life before? If you're talking about offshoring jobs, you can't blame China for offshoring jobs. Those jobs had to be offshored. They were here and they got offshored. You can't blame China for American companies moving those jobs. You know who you can blame? You can blame conservatives who keep cutting taxes and giving loopholes. And you can blame the design of our economic system where it's profit over everything. So when people have the option to either make more profit and offshore their jobs to Sri Lanka or to China or to Hong Kong or to the Philippines or to Mexico, and we let them do it, you can blame people bastardizing our system, not protecting Americans. But what you can't do is blame China for that. The problem with China is they're just better. They're smarter. They're more prepared. They focused on renewable energy. They focused on education. And they made it so that their population was more prepared for the future of this world than we were. And so we're left now. We're behind because we decided we didn't want to educate people. We didn't want to prepare people. We didn't want to provide things like internet. We didn't want to provide things like free education. We didn't want to provide health care. We just wanted to give tax breaks to the billionaires. And now we're getting our dick kicked in, and you guys think that the solution to that is a tariff war. The solution is Donald Trump just needs to admit he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, let things go back to normal, and stop doing this shit. That's what he needs to do. He invented a problem that doesn't exist. He convinced you guys it's all a problem, and he convinced you he's the only one that can fix it, and he's fucking things up, and you still won't blame him. You're still going to blame everybody but him.
The budget for an entire government. I just got to worry about one agency. So does he.
You should stop asking us to live in China, by the way, also. You guys are too fucking stupid to do this on your own. You need blue states. You need people who can fucking read. I understand that you don't like that I'm talking about your daddy. Why do you want me to live in China because I'm showing you that Donald Trump's a fucking idiot? Why don't we get rid of the fucking idiot? How about that? How about the guy who did the trade war that's going to cause prices to go up for no fucking reason? Why don't we get rid of that guy? No, I voted for him. So we got to get rid of everybody else who disagrees with him instead. I'm just telling you things. Every economist in the world agrees with me. Everybody knows what I'm saying is true. The only people who don't know that what I'm saying is true are people who still think Donald Trump's smart. You still haven't figured out this guy's a fucking idiot.
And their job is 10 times harder than ours. They have to say, DOD's got to get this. What about DOT?
Thanks, Sandra.
What about Justice and Marshals? And what about Treasury? So we know that they are smartly putting together a budget. And we also know that there's ramifications from people here that weaponize this place and a cost to that. We're always going to fight for our personnel and for as much money as we can get. But I think when we show you real-time examples of getting out of places like this, because just to fix this building would cost billions of dollars only for a couple of years of runway, it shows you that we're serious about saving and being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars and hiring more agents instead of building new buildings.
So what are
you guys can't even, what the fuck is that? What is that? Free schools produce better teachers and students? Yeah, and free labor produces better workers than paid ones. Do you think the teachers aren't going to get paid, you dipshit? What the fuck are you talking about? It's about how much you pay. What's better, pizza you paid $5 for or the exact same pizza that you paid nothing for? Yeah, poor people can't afford to pay for good school. So we got to subsidize that with rich people. Rich people need to pay for school. They have a lot of money. We have a system that's rigged for them. They can afford to pay. That's so stupid. Like this is why you guys wind up voting for Trump, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You have no idea like what other countries do. Why are our education rates in like the 40s? We're dog shit at education, and every country who does it better does it this way. We're the only ones doing it, and every time we keep doubling down on trickle-down economics, and we just fall down the list. And all those other people look at America, and they're like, we better not do what they did. Let's do what China did. Let's invest in our people. Let's give them basic necessities that they would need to succeed. Let's make sure that high-speed internet's available to everybody. Let's make sure that school is available to everybody. Let's make sure that healthcare is available to everybody. And yeah, that means we're going to have less billionaires. We're going to have less rich people, and our middle class is going to expand. They learned that from us. We taught them that. China literally watched us up through the 70s, and they're like, you know what? America's beating our ass because of this. So we're going to replicate what America did. And America's like, all that stuff that made us successful, we're going to abandon that, and instead, we're going to give all the money to rich people. And then China passed us by, and then you guys are like, yeah, it's probably because they cheated, though. It couldn't be because we fundamentally changed everything in 1982 and started giving all the money to the rich people. It couldn't possibly be that. That's just when all of our jobs started offshoring. That's when wealth inequality skyrocketed. It couldn't be trickle-down economics, though. It must be that China is cheating.
Saying about this, that you're going to get out of the Hoover building?
Well, he's a man of his word. I mean, he said that he was interested in shutting down Hoover, and I don't think people took him seriously. And it's been 2 months, and I think it's good that he broke it on your show, because me and him were on the tour yesterday of an alternate facility where the building we're looking at, and everyone was taking pictures, and they knew something was up because me and him were there. So that's good. You guys got it first. But Cash could have made a pretty easy decision, which is go up to Congress and say, hey, you know what? We're going to go back and ask for this $1 billion new facility. And you know what he said? He said, go find us a place already up and running. We can go in. Well, it's going to need some upgrades, skiffs where we can talk, safes, that kind of thing. Obviously, some security upgrades in the front. We are saving the taxpayer a fortune.
So are you going to move 1,000 employees from Washington to field offices across the country?
1,500.
1,500.
We are. We are already launched that plan, and we've looked at.
They're going to Alabama.
Good. For what? What's this benefiting us, right? I'm going to skip some of this because they're just moving. They're just moving shit from Washington, D.C. to Alabama. Awesome. That's so great.
Set up for them and fill those seats. We don't need to build new buildings elsewhere. So a chunk of them are going there because it's essentially headquarters too, for lack of a better word. But the rest of the folks, we've looked at the map and we said, where are the worst crime spots in America?
Mr. Bigotry has to be muted for 1 minute for still not knowing how tariffs work. You're going to get muted for 1 minute, and you have to go Google who pays tariffs.
That's how we're choosing where the agents and intel folks go. Then our leaders in the field are working with state, local, and tribal leaders to say, hey, we've got a serious problem on Navajo, or we've got a big deal going on outside of Chicago. Those agents and intel analysts are going there at their direction based on ground level intelligence. You want to make your promotions, go make cases in the field, and you're getting promoted under this leadership structure. You don't have to come to Washington. One of the biggest cost saving things we did was we ended this TDY boom.
I really don't care. This has nothing to do with their cost savings, by the way. They're getting gutted by $500 million, and they're saying that their budget does not include the Pentagon. Their budget doesn't include buying the Pentagon. It's already there. So this isn't really cost savings. It's actually the fact that they've got a smaller budget and they want more field officers. I like what Cash is doing. I actually like that he says if you want to be promoted here, you've got to go make cases. You're not just going to get promoted by being here and having coffee with the boys. I like that. I think that what he's talking about almost certainly exists in the FBI. I think it certainly exists in all these structures, that people who are likable and who come to work every day and go along to get along, they get promoted. And I do agree with him. I think this is a good policy decision that he's making. It doesn't have anything to do with the $500 million they're cutting, though. That's the only point I want to make here. But other than that, I give him credit for that. I think that's a smart thing that he's doing.
So there is, as it seems that.
So now we're going to talk about the FBI handling of January 6th.
I find myself in a similar situation as Russiagate, because on January 6th in the prior Trump administration, I was the chief of staff to the Department of Defense, and I spent 4 years and a minor fortune litigating the truth because people politicized what actually happened on January 6th. And we now.
I want to point this out. What he's going to say is that he had to spend all this money because it was politicized, which is a fucking crazy thing to do. If the people storming the Capitol show up in Trump gear after they left a Trump rally, is it really crazy to say it's political? I mean, they wore the guy's fucking name. You can argue how much Trump knew, and we'll never know that because only Trump can tell us what he knew, and I'm okay with that. But to say that it's being politicized when they leave a Trump rally, when other people besides Trump literally said fight like hell, trial by combat. we only focus on Trump's words of like peacefully and patriotically, right? So that's their way. If you want to say that Trump wanted them to go and peacefully and patriotically go to the Capitol, I'm fine with that. But we can't pretend that it's not political, though, because those same people did not go peacefully and patriotically. They seemed to listen to Giuliani when he said trial by combat, and Steve Bannon when he said fight like hell. They seemed to listen to other speakers who were there politically aligned with the president. So if you don't want to blame Trump for all of this, that's fine. But to say that it's politicized unfairly, that's fucking crazy. They were beating police with MAGA flags, with MAGA hats. Like, what are we talking about? Of course that was political. They were there because they thought that the election was stolen from them. The entire thing was political. It wasn't politicized. It was a political, violent attempt at overthrowing the government.
Now know unequivocally that President Trump lawfully authorized the deployment of National Guard, and me as the head of the Office of Secretary of Defense, with the Secretary of Defense, took that action. When it finally came—
That's not true. He was never the acting Secretary of Defense. I don't, this is crazy. He just made up a new thing. I want you to see this. Just hear it again. This is crazy.
Came in because it had to have—
come on, YouTube. Let me scroll back. Somebody's got to explain why this happens. Why can't I move the mouse? Somebody's got to explain that. How is this possible? All right. Well, let me just show you then. Where's my... There was a call to make Kash Patel the acting... Oh, I lost my... Hold on. Sorry, guys. There was an idea that you would make him the acting Secretary of Defense, but let's see this. Here's the letter he's talking about. This is the secretary, the acting Secretary of, I believe, acting Secretary of Defense. Who is the SecDef on acting Secretary of Defense? Yeah, it was Christopher Miller. Okay. So here's the letter he's talking about. He just said he was the acting Secretary of Defense. Christopher Miller was the acting Secretary of Defense. Here is the letter that he wrote on January 4th, 2021. So before we go back to Kash, because I want to cover this, he did. Let's see if this works now. Why won't that work? I don't know why I can't go back.
The governor and mayor of D.C.'s approval on it. That's the way the law works. And once it finally came in on January 6th, remember, we offered to...
Now, that's also not true. He said that in order for them to call up the National Guard, you need the mayor of D.C.'s approval. Here is the letter. Here is what Christopher Miller, the Secretary of Defense, not Kash Patel, which he's just, for some reason, just saying that he was the Secretary of Defense, which he wasn't. He says, with this memorandum responds to your January 4th memorandum regarding the D.C. request for National Guard support in response to planned demonstrations from January 5th to the 6th. So this memo, the D.C. mayor, which he said the D.C. mayor did not require or ask for this, here is them saying, you asked for assistance on the 5th and the 6th. On both of these days, you've asked for our assistance. They've already asked. And then they said, you are authorized to approve the requested support, subject to my guidance below and subject to consultation with the Attorney General as required by Executive Order 1145. So he says, without my authorization, the D.C. National Guard is not allowed to do the following: to be issued weapons, ammunition, bayonets, batons, ballistic protection equipment, like helmets and body armor. They cannot interact physically with protesters except when necessary in self-defense or defense of others. They cannot employ any riot control agents. They cannot share equipment with law enforcement agencies. They are not allowed to use intelligence, surveillance, or reconnaissance assets to conduct ISR, incident awareness, and assessment activities. They cannot employ helicopters or any other assets. They are not allowed to conduct searches, seizures, arrests, or other similar direct law enforcement activity. and they are not to seek support from any D.C. National Guard units. At all times, the D.C. National Guard will remain under the operational and administrative command and control of the commanding general of the D.C. National Guard. I don't remember who that was, who reports to the Secretary of Defense through the Secretary of the Army. The Secretary of the Army was Ryan McCarthy. Christopher Miller is the Secretary of Defense, or acting Secretary of Defense at the time. And he said, you may employ the QRF only as a last resort and in response to a request from an appropriate civil authority. If the QRF is so employed, D.C. National Guard personnel will be clearly marked and or distinguished from civilian law enforcement personnel. So Cash just made up that he was the Secretary of Defense. That didn't happen. He also said that it required that the D.C. National Guard could not go unless they had a request from Muriel Bowser, who's the D.C. mayor. I just read you that memo was in response to her request to have the D.C. National Guard on standby on January 5th and January 6th. So she had already made the request, and he wasn't the Secretary of Defense. I don't know what he's talking. This is Bananaville. This guy has never been the acting Secretary of Defense. And on Fox News, he said, I was the acting Secretary of Defense. That's crazy.
To them days beforehand, and they rejected it. And we've put out the letters, and your show has done great coverage showing how it was rejected. We mobilized the fastest cold start in Washington, D.C. since World War II, and the largest occupation of D.C. by the National Guard since the American Revolution. That's what happened on January 6th. But
So? What does that have to do with this being politicized? You did it like 6 hours late. You sat there Trump sat there for like 2.5 hours and did nothing. By the way, you know who could have sent it at any time? Trump. Trump was the only person in the world that could override Secretary Miller there. He's the only one because Miller reports to him. So he obviously could have sent in the National Guard. But Cass just told on Fox News, said he was the Secretary of Defense and there was no request. He wasn't the Secretary of Defense and there was a request. This is when I was like, good Lord, what the fuck are we doing? He's either a moron, possibly just like a severe drug addict, or he's lying.
But what you and your viewers want to know, now that we've beat back that disinformation campaign with actual truth, is what was the FBI doing? Well, we got answers coming. We just found.
Now, here's the part that's going to fuck you Republicans up a little bit. Now, remember, you guys said that the FBI actually orchestrated this and that there were FBI agents there that were orchestrating this. Watch, they're going to do it in a sneaky way, but Dan Bongino is about to admit to you guys that the FBI didn't orchestrate this.
Found a trove of information, and it's on its way to Capitol Hill right now. And they've asked, and they're getting them, and you're getting answers on January 6th. You're getting answers on what sourcing was utilized, what money was utilized, how many assets were utilized, who made those decisions. You're getting it. We can only control the FBI, but you're getting it from the FBI.
Were there
Sorry, Johnny said, how was your date this weekend? Did you cuddle? I didn't have a date. I don't remember why that came up. Oh, because Jen asked me about my weekend. I did not have a date this weekend. I did cuddle with my daughter for a minute. She doesn't usually do that, but yesterday she cuddled with me for a minute while we watched Full House.
FBI agents undercover egging people on?
Like I said, that answer is coming, and it's on its way to Congress.
Okay. She said agents. He didn't want to answer it honestly because he's been lying on his podcast over and over that there were FBI agents in the crowd and that they were pushing it along. He doesn't want to answer it. But Dan Bongino hasn't said anything for a while. So this dipshit's about to accidentally tell you that the FBI had nothing to do with it.
I saw it. I saw the portfolio of information. We dug far and wide to find it. And I'm pretty sure now we have a conclusive, definitive answer. But you and the public are going to have it. You're going to see it in writing over to Capitol Hill. But I just want to be sure we're clear, having been an agent and a police officer. There is a difference between an agent. I know you know this. I don't mean to sound ridiculous. An agent, meaning a trained GS 1811 federal agent, and a source or an asset. There's a difference. So when you see the material, which I promise you is coming, again, I'm not asking you to trust us. I know it's coming because I saw it yesterday. When you see it, I just want you to understand that it's not an apology for anything.
Thank you.
But there's a difference between agents and assets. Yeah. And I just hope when people put that information out there, they make the distinction. Not that it's better or worse.
Oh, it's better or worse. It's better or worse. The reason there were so many fucking assets there is because you know who were the assets? The people who were ratting out all the people who were trying to overthrow the government. See, the FBI infiltrated all these right-wing extremist groups. The same groups that you guys are like, oh, no, they're harmless, except for they stormed the Capitol that day. And then they broke down doors. And the FBI had infiltrated those groups. But some of those people on that day were like, you know what? I am a source, but fuck it. I'm going with my boys. Because I'm not going to, once Trump takes over, imagine you're an asset, just for a second. Just imagine you're an FBI informant. And you've been informing the FBI on what Enrique Tarrio's doing. And so you have their communication. Enrique Tarrio doesn't know. And then you show up on Jan 6th, you go to the rally at the Ellipse, and then you go down there to the Capitol, and you're like, oh, no. Oh, we're storming the Capitol? You're going to join. Because if you believe that this is going to work, and there was a plan, there was absolutely a plan to overthrow the government. And if you were a Proud Boy, you probably believed that. If you were an Oath Keeper, you probably believed that. And so once it was time, wouldn't you want to join in? Don't you have some sort of level of protection there too? Like if you go, if then it gets investigated, let's say you're not successful and it gets investigated, you can just be like, I didn't want to blow my cover, dude. I was a source for the FBI. You're like, oh, you were a source? That's all right. I'm with the new administration. Yeah, I was playing them all along. I fed them bullshit information. What they're telling you right now is that they lied to you about the FBI planning this, and it's about to come out next week. And they know that. And so that's why he's prefacing, I just want to make sure before this comes out that you all know that there's a difference between an FBI agent and a source. And I'm not going to tell you why you need to know that, but I'm just telling you that that there's a difference. The reason is because everybody that was there was a source, and there is no link. The FBI didn't know any of them were going to be there from what we've seen so far. Potentially, next week, you could have maybe they would say the FBI knew this person was going to be there. But they're already saying, they're backtracking from all the shit they said when they were podcasters. You guys, oh, I trust Dan Bongino. I trust Kash Patel. They're telling the truth. Oh, really? Because they seem to have got all these things that they knew definitively. They're sure backtracking on right now, including right now where they're saying, sorry, guys, this shit that's going to come out next week, it's going to be a fucking nothing burger. Who said that? SK is going to be pissed? Yeah. Going to be a lot of TikTokers that are they're going to spin it. What they're going to say is like, yeah, well, of course it wasn't FBI agents, but what's the difference? They were there acting for the FBI agents, so the FBI agents didn't get in trouble. That's what they're going to say. There's no end. You guys aren't allowed to be wrong. You can't abandon Donald Trump on the right. If you're a conservative, if you're a content creator, you're not allowed to say bad things about Donald Trump. You'll be canceled immediately. People will just start calling you a lib. Oh, dude, you're just a closet lib. Yeah, dude, they got you. The deep state got you. They're just going to say that because they can't let it go. So they'll spin it. But Dan Bongino and Kash Patel right now are saying the same shit we've been saying for the last year and a half. Everything you guys say, you guys are so full of shit. You guys just believe whatever the government tells you. We're like, yeah, there was no FBI agents there. It was just a bunch of sources. Now they're saying the same shit, and you're still going to come back on the day this comes out, and you're still going to think I'm lying, and you're still going to think they're telling the truth, even though they were the ones that were lying to you, and I was telling you the truth. And you'll still be like, no, I don't trust this guy.
But there's a distinction there.
It's a very important distinction.
And I want to level set here. I want the American public to go back and look at what our predecessors stated to Congress under oath, that there were no FBI sources utilized in and around January 6th. I'm going to leave it at that, but go play the videotape and look for this material coming to Congress.
Yeah, so that's the key. That's what's going to determine whether or not people in Congress were lying. It's going to come down to the word utilized, not there, right? So if they're, and I haven't looked this up yet, if the conservatives are here, I want to know who the people testified that none of these sources were utilized. If somebody testified that none of these sources were utilized, and then there's evidence that the FBI did utilize those sources, that person should be held in contempt. But Kash Patel lied in front of Congress, so he should also be held in contempt. I'm 100% comfortable with somebody getting in trouble if they're lying in front of Congress. If you had an agent come out and say none of them are utilized, and it turns out that the FBI agents not only knew that they were there, but they were utilizing them to do something, then yeah, that would be a lie. But I'm just going to try again here. Dan Bongino, FBI agents, Jan 6. Let's see if Dan Bongino ever said anything about this before. All right, let's see. All right, this is about the pipe bomber.
This I've been working on for a while. This isn't new. Folks, let's just get this out of the way about January 6th. It is now confirmed. I mean, you knew this in advance. So this is why I put this first. This is not breaking news. However, I can confirm to you, in case you were even remotely deluded about it, say you're a lefty watching my show, that the FBI 100% had undercovers in the crowd on January 6th. I know you know that.
100%. 100%, he said. This guy has 130,000 people watching his stream. Oh, he tells the truth. That's why he's in the FBI. 100%. They had agents. 100%.
I'm just saying Christopher Wray's been shady about it and others. I'm telling you from a source on the ground with photo evidence to back it up. The FBI and other agencies, not just the FBI, by the way, had multiple undercovers on the ground on January 6th.
Whoopsies! This bitch was lying then, too. How's his sources? Maybe we don't trust Bongino's sources. Because I didn't see this clip before we started, by the way. I just knew it would happen. This is how fucking transparent these guys are when they lie. When you hear them backtrack, once you see it with MAGA, once you see it with these people, once you know what to look for when people are like operating as if they're in a cult, once you see a response, you know they're fucking lying. You know it. That's why he prefaced that, because he's such a fucking egomaniac and he has a good enough memory to know that he grifted you motherfuckers out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by bullshitting you and lying to you about, oh, I have a source that confirms there were multiple FBI undercover agents on the ground on January 6th. And then he gets in office and he's got to tell the truth. And suddenly, like, I want to be very clear. There's a difference between a source and an agent. Why'd he say that? Because this dumb bitch knows he got caught. He knows he got caught. They're all lying to you. The biggest mistake Donald Trump could have ever made was putting these people, these podcasters, these personalities in office, because we see it time and time again. You see it with Pete Hegseth, where you see him like, oh, I would never say that, and then you have a clip of him saying that. And you see Dan Bongino like up here like, yeah, it's very important to be careful. They're not very careful with my words, except for when he was a podcaster, when he either made up a source or believed a dumb shit source. And now he's confirming, nope, no FBI agents were there. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Once you see it, once you watch these guys do it a couple of times, you cannot unsee it. And you'll be able to read them every single time. Every time Dan Bongino so far has opened his mouth in this interview, it was to cover his own ass for shit he said on his flag-decorated podcast.
Period. There's now no disputing it. I've seen the evidence. Number two, the pipe bombs that were placed at the DNC and the RNC that I believe were planted there on purpose by people looking to frame Trump supporters to stop the objection to the certification of the vote. They didn't want people talking about voter fraud problems, so they needed this.
All right, I do. Listen, I'm open-minded about the pipe bomber because I think that the pipe bomber is this guy. There's some pretty good evidence for it. I don't think we'll ever know about the pipe bomber because I think the pipe bomber is being protected, and I don't think it's a Democrat operative. I think it's Yvonne Raiklan. I think it's this guy.
Option 2 behind Trump is going to be so much better for us and so much worse.
Well, I was about to
them.
say, if they kill him, that's best case scenario. From a
I
sick
think that's
level,
the pipe bomber.
From a sick level beating.
There's some interesting stuff in the way like his gait and he's very small, so he constantly uses like orthotics for lifts. the way that he walks, the orthotics in his shoes, there's at least compelling evidence there. I don't think we're going to know about that ever, though. I don't think we'll ever get that name.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as...
Now, let's check this. Let's go look Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. Let's go see if we can find them saying Kash Patel... Jeff Epstein didn't commit suicide. We've got a new subscriber. Welcome. All right, here's Kash Patel.
Kennedy.
No. You're talking to a guy that's read the entire JFK file.
You've seen all the secret stuff?
I've seen all of that, and I've seen the 7 pages of the 9/11 report. I've seen it all.
You don't say that to people that you can't tell what you saw. Should the Kennedy stuff be released?
Yes.
Is there anything there that is like, is anybody alive?
The problem is, the things that we can't release have nothing to do with the questions you guys are asking. That's about as far as I can go on it. But like the answers you guys want, you pretty much have them.
Why do you think they added the music, just out of curiosity?
There's very minimal stuff that can't be seen for things that you wouldn't even think are related to that.
Why can't we release them?
And you're thinking temporally, like, did it stop back then? Right? You know, the way intelligence works is you're always developing it. Where did I get that? Where did that go? Oh, hey, I found that guy 5 years ago. Let's go talk to him. Where does that get us? You know, it's a little bit bigger of a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, it's the same. Look, so the 7 pages of the 9/11 report, yes, overnight, that needs to come out. I'm telling you, that's got to go. And there will be some people that are pissed off.
That was weird. That said that he didn't. That was just a bad headline. Sorry about that. I just wasted your time with that clip. I was going to see if Kash had ever said anything about Epstein. Hey, Jen.
Hey.
Hey.
I just want to pop in. I know we're getting towards the end, but we're, I think, a pretty good chunk away from our goal. So if you guys could help us knock out some of that remaining balance, that would be awesome. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats. Would appreciate it. So I just wanted to mention that before we wrap up.
All right. Thank you, Jen. All right. So there we go. I don't know if Dan Bongino ever said that he did, but now here's Kash Patel. And the same people who are upset that forever have been saying, like, we're deep staters and that Biden's deep state and Obama's deep state because we didn't, or not Obama, I guess, Biden, because we didn't release the Epstein files and that he definitely didn't kill himself. Now you have the FBI director saying the same thing. And those same people are now upset at him.
Someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing. You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work, but you promoted Stephen Jensen, the architect of the FBI's overzealous January 6th investigation.
I want the American public to realize...
I just want to be clear something, by the way. Grifting is not asking for money. When I call them grifters, it's because what they're doing is they're selling you something they don't believe, or they're selling you something that they don't have evidence of. And they're doing it like it is a con. It's a way to illicitly obtain money. It's a way to get you so hysterical that you're given money. So you can accuse me of being a grifter. That's fine. But so far, I've shown all my sources here. I don't think this would qualify as grifting. You can call it begging if you want. You can call it performative if you want. Whatever you want to call it. But grifting has an intent to like deceive people. I'm just showing you their own words, and then I'm giving you their own words from previous. I don't think that would fit grifting.
We did. That man.
And thanks, 6 cents, Amelia. Appreciate you.
Was in a position where he literally fought back against the machine who was saying, we want to politicize this event. We want to politicize this event. And at the end of the day, remember, Maria, there's a chain of command here. So you can fight back your chain of command to a certain degree before they fire you. And Steve Jensen and other folks were promoted because they embody what the American public demands of FBI agents.
To get to the bottom of something like January 6th and the pipe bomber case, for example, you need three things. You need people, you need information, and you need people with information. I'll allow the public to put that together and just wait, and you'll see. Nothing we're doing, nothing is by accident.
People who are, quote unquote, supposedly on the side of reporting truthfully should take a look at this instance, because they are setting up
Yeah, we should, but can we at least address that you guys weren't on the side of reporting things truthfully? They have a lot of criticisms for a couple of guys who have been caught multiple times in this interview saying the exact opposite of what they said they were 100% sure of. Dan Bongino said he's 100% sure. So I appreciate it, but like these are two guys who are literally in their own interviews going against what they said they were 100% sure of. It just gets old hearing two lying media grifters call everybody else lying media grifters. That's who you are. That's how you got this job. You got this job because you guys pitch conspiracy theories, and that's easy. That's the easy way to do journalism. Their job is easy. Tim Pool's job is easy. You just make shit up. You just use your own interpretation for everything. And then when you don't have an answer for something, you make up some sort of conspiracy theory. They're just lazy journalists. And so when they started doing real journalism, meaning they started checking their sources, it turned out they didn't have any evidence of the claims that they made. And so now they're coming back and saying, like, there's no evidence of that. That's grifting. That's dishonest journalism. They've spent this whole time calling out other people being dishonest. These are two of the biggest liars and biggest hypocrites in Washington.
Regular firing squads. And Dan and I have already...
They pitched the conspiracy theory. Good Lord. How the fuck did you just get here? Get over yourself. I just showed you a clip of Dan Bongino saying he knew 100% that there were FBI agents on the ground on January 6th. And then in this interview, he just said that they weren't. He said agents, not sources. Specifically said agents, not sources. And there weren't any agents on the ground. That's a conspiracy theory, and he lied to you and said he had it confirmed, 100% confirmed. How could something have been 100% confirmed then, and now he's saying it didn't happen?
Already told the FBI, every employee that acted appropriately, we are going to defend you to the hill, literally, no matter the consequences. But for the media, who's gone through the disinformation cycle of Russiagate, of January 6th, for them to come in here and take the clickbait and write articles based on half-truths doesn't hurt us. This is what I'll tell you something I didn't think we were going to get into today. But every morning we tell our leadership cadre when we sit down with them, nothing written in the media is going to affect him or me.
Look, you said illegal.
I don't know why he said that. That was a weird thing. But again, he's criticizing all of us for doing the shit that got him this position. He's been lying forever. He lied about the election being stolen. He's lied at least 20 times in this interview. And there's like, oh, I don't like that people are dishonest. Well, then be honest.
Illegal alien criminals and child predators are next in your ongoing crackdown.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to do it?
Oh, yeah.
The illegal immigration problem with 20 million people came in. Yeah, okay, most of them probably were here to work in it, but a lot of them weren't. They were here to traffic in kids and fentanyl. If you were here illegally, the administration's approach, which the director and I have actioned through the agents in the field, is, listen, I'm speaking a bit hyperbolically, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Why are you looking at the camera, you psycho?
The lawyer. We're giving you about 5 minutes to cooperate. If you're here illegally, 5 minutes, you're out. Title 8, AEA, whatever we've got. We're not wasting an 8.
Well, you don't have a lot of that because the Supreme Court told you have to give people due process. So now we have a non-lawyer, second in command at the FBI, and a trained lawyer, first in command at the FBI, saying, we don't give a fuck about due process. We're going to do whatever we want. And the Supreme Court said, you guys are fucking dumb.
Agent who's making, a decent salary, who we train. We're not wasting 3 weeks of his time to beg you for information for a proffer. We're not. We're kicking you out. The president's going to seal the border.
In the first 2-3 months that we've been in the seat under Donald Trump's administration, he has sealed the border. He has stopped border crossings. So where's all the fentanyl coming from?
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
Still, where's the trafficking coming from still? Where?
Ports of entry, you dumb motherfuckers. Ports of entry, the same place they came before. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird, Republicans? How all of a sudden there's less people at our southern border claiming asylum. It's at historic lows, and yet the fentanyl continues to pour in. How the fuck did that happen? Oh, I know. Maybe we were right the whole time when we said it wasn't the people walking across the border who were the problem. It was the ports of entries, that it comes through in cars and trucks, on airplanes, on ships, and that it's done almost exclusively by American citizens, which is why they're never stopped at the border. They put it in their vehicles. It's Americans trafficking drugs from Mexico into America, or from Canada into America. It's American citizens. It's not the people who are coming here looking for work. It's almost like for the last 4 years, we've been trying to get you to understand this, that the people seeking employment at the southern border were not the problem. So isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how Kash Patel's figuring this out now in real time? Well, we don't even understand what happened because Trump is so great, he stopped it, and it's still a problem. Oh, yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit. It's because it was never them. They were never the people bringing in the drugs. It's always Americans, and it's through ports of entry. Over 90% of all of it comes through ports of entry. And we knew that before, too. But you guys wanted to demonize immigrants. You wanted to be a little bit racist, and you liked it. You're like, look at me, I get to be racist. This is fun, and I get to justify my racism by being like, I care about fentanyl pouring over the border, and I care about crime. And so these people who are here for work, I get to be racist against them now. And we tried to tell you, fix the fucking ports of entry, fix our asylum laws, pass something through Congress, and you wouldn't do it. And so now, when you've got border crossings at historic lows, and the drugs aren't stopping, what are you left with? Oh shit, we were right again. And it won't change your minds at all. You'll just show up again tomorrow and be like, yeah, we were right. We did the right thing. Bamarola said, for my daily grifter, JK, love you guys. Asa Sophia said, once again, you rock, RTP, and you, Jen, we all love you. I got Amelia's already. Let me read this one. Nicholas said, keep up the good work. Namasi said, to piss off the sister fister MAGA in the chat. Susan said, for the goal. Jackie said, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. I added that part. I just had hey on there. Bean, thanks for joining the dollar train. Annette said 800 people here. Let's join the dollar. Give me 1 second. Did I miss any? Brad said, my wife is furious at our next door neighbor who sunbaths topless in her backyard. Personally, I'm on the fence. You fucking creep. That's pretty good. Jen said Jen and RTP have the best mods. Hugh Mungus said 8647. You must be on a walk on the beach as well. Let me add this up. I think let's see. I think that's it. Jen's gonna get mad at me. Jen's gonna have to take one of my kidneys today. Finish this off. If anybody wants to help us finish that goal off by the end of the night or the end of the show, that'd be terrific.
Where are all the narco traffickers going to keep?
Jim, I ask people to debate every day. What are you talking about? Is this the same fucking Jen? Is this the same fucking guy that shows up at 1 o'clock every single day when we ask for debates all day long, and then shows up every day at 1? Like, you're afraid to debate. Is this the same guy, or is this a different guy?
Yes, no, it's the same guy.
Good Lord, man. You dumb bitch. You dumb fucking bitch. You do this every day. You know what you're doing. You can't show up at 1 every day and then say people are scared. You've done
well,
this
he showed up on Friday. He showed up on Friday when at the end of Friendly Friday.
Good Lord, man. You idiot.
I mean, do you want, if Jim can grow a pair and actually message me in Discord, do you want to give Jim a shot since he's going to wreck you?
If Jim wants to come, I'll stay late for Jim.
All right.
I'll stay late, Jim. There you go. Now you got to put your money where your mouth is, Jim. Come on.
All right, Jim. If you want to debate and prove him wrong, what you need to do is go into Discord and DM me on Discord. My username is the same as the Venmo, which is Jen with 2 N's, Dub with 2 B's, and the number 1. So that's how you go on. Acknowledge that you've heard this. Other than that, I don't really want to hear you cry anymore. So
Yeah, you can't do that every day, Jim. All right, I'll finish with this.
Bringing this stuff into the country, the northern border. Our adversaries have.
Now we're blaming Canada. It's Canada's fault. Look, there are a lot of drugs that pour through the northern border, and we all know why. It's because that dipshit. What was that dipshit's name? The like is a contractor for the border patrol that works on the northern border that used to come around all the time. Jen, what was his name?
We're not talking about the other dipshit, the border guy. That's not who we're talking about.
The other guy that used to come around. The guy. I made the goose hoodie.
Oh, Josh.
Josh, that's right, Josh. Yeah.
Josh.
Do your fucking
Josh, yeah.
Do your job, Josh. That northern border is a nightmare. Thanks. All right, I'll finish this.
Partnered up with the CCP and others, Russia, Iran, on a variety of different criminal enterprises, and they're sailing around to Vancouver and coming in by air. And the sheer tyranny of distance of the northern border and the lack of cooperation from federal authorities in prior administrations to actually firm up that northern border is what's causing a continuation of violence.
Frankie said overdoses were down 30% in 2024. That's great news. I haven't seen that, but if that's true, that's awesome. W America.
And crime. Now we're focused on it. And we're calling our state and local law enforcement partners up there. But you know who has to get to step in is Canada. Because they're making it up there and shipping it down here. And I don't care about getting into this debate about making someone the 51st state or not. But they are our partner in the north. And say what you want about Mexico, but they helped us seal the southern border. The facts speak for themselves. The border that's open, I'll give you a statistic that I gave to Congress.
Thanks, Portia. Thanks for saving the kidney.
That nobody was paying attention to. Over 300 known or suspected terrorists crossed into this country last year illegally. Known or suspected terrorists, not illegals. Not just illegals, known or suspected terrorists.
Let's all pitch in on some meds for Mr. Big Angry.
85% of them came in through the northern border. Wow. This year, 100 known or suspected terrorists have crossed into this country illegally. 64 are south and north.
Gentlemen, we've hit on so much today, and I really appreciate your time.
I'm so happy that we were able to sit down with you. So your viewers.
This is the part that fucked me up the most. I know we've been at this for a long time, but now listen to what Cash says here.
Can see it. We're not doing a lot of media, and we're going to continue to not do a lot of media. But you have reported truthfully for years.
Yeah.
Even when it wasn't popular, when it wasn't fun, when it cost you money, and when it cost you personally. So that's why we welcomed you to the Hoover building. We welcomed, yes, we do have an indoor shooting range, which we'll get you to soon. But we really appreciate you having the audacity to continue to report the truth.
Guys, we're not going to take any more questions about this ever. We're doing this on Fox News, who's notoriously known for being truth tellers. Despite that nearly $1 billion that they had to pay for lying about the election being stolen and being proven that they were lying about the election being stolen. And we were reading their emails back and forth where they're like, hey guys, when are we going to stop lying about this? Should we stop lying about this? No, if we stop lying about it, our stock price will go down. Okay, I guess we'll keep lying about this. Sidney Powell's lying, right? Yeah, she's lying. Are we going to keep putting her on? Yeah, we're going to put her on, though, because otherwise people will go watch OAN and Newsmax. Okay, we're lying. And then Cash goes on there and it's like, the reason we're coming here is because everybody knows you're truth tellers. Like, this is, if you buy that, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is everything that Republicans claim to hate about the government and corruption, literally everything. Your party does. If we sat through the chat and you guys told me what you hate about the government, I could give you specific examples of the Trump administration doing that thing that you hate, and it wouldn't change any of your minds. Because the truth is, you don't hate that. You hate it when other people do it, because you want people to believe in the Trump administration. Your whole life is just like whataboutism. This is the most corrupt administration in the history of this country, and it's not fucking close. They're openly corrupt. Donald Trump is openly running multiple scams, like a crypto pump and dump and a stock Ponzi scheme. And he's openly taking bribes from foreign entities all over the world. All over the world, he's taking bribes. The thing that you guys desperately tried to tie Joe Biden to for 4 years that you never could, Trump is doing it openly, and you're pretending that he's not. You still think Joe Biden's a criminal for things that you never could tie to him. And when Trump does them in your face, you're like, yeah, nobody would do it in our face. that must mean he's truthful. No. He just knows you don't care. He knows that he can kick you in the dick and tell you that it was the wind, and you're like, yeah, it was probably the wind. I'm guessing it was the wind. Do the grift complainers work for you? It works every time. It does. Yeah, that is true. The people who who show up and call me a grifter, that tends to increase donations. Kimmy said, from one bean licker to another, you rock, RTP. Thank you. Keep licking that bean like Mean Joe Green. That is wonderful. Jen, did Jim run away? I don't see Jim in the chat. Maybe she's working on it still.
Yeah, it looks like
no message. No message from Jim, huh?
Shocking.
Wow, how about that? How about that, Jim? You just
I'll just come back and cry and think that you're avoiding him. I don't remember. Jim can't. He's not the one that wants the phone number, is it? There's someone else who wanted your phone number so bad.
Like my personal phone number?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm calling. But yeah, he's quiet. I don't see him anymore. So
yeah, he disappeared, didn't he?
Shocking.
Yeah. I'm going to check real quick before we go. I'm going to check my email to see if Jubilee. Have you checked the email today?
Yeah. There's nothing new.
Did you check the spam filter? Their stuff goes to spam all the time.
I'll double check the spam. Let's see. No, just your little blue pill stuff. That's about it.
Is that what we had in spam? What is it?
Yeah, I don't see anything in spam. So.
All right, Jen. Any last words?
Besides that, Jim's a clown. Hold on, we got another. So, Brandy just sent to Venmo. What did Cinderella say to Prince Charming?
I don't know.
I want to see if it fits.
Cinderella. Yeah, that's fair. She was locked up for a long time. She only got one night out. She needed to make the most.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I'm
bullshit.
proud of her. We're pro. That's just women's empowerment right there. She's out there to get what she deserves. Good for you, Cinderella. You deserve it.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
Did you get hers? All right. Well, thanks everybody. We appreciate it.
All right. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to remember, we're going to go live probably around noon. I'm just going to say noon for now. That's what we'll plan it for. I'll cover the SCOTUS decision. I know that's probably what everybody was going to talk about today, but we'll have a little more clarity. That interview fucked me up, so I wanted to watch that. So we'll cover the SCOTUS decision tomorrow. I want to thank Britt again for helping with the outline today. I keep telling her to do less, and Britt's like, I can't do less. I can only do like what I do because she's crazy like me. So every time she puts together an outline that we never cover. And just if you guys want to see it, we cover it every single day in our Discord. We provide the outline with articles and links. Everything we cover on the show, we have in the Discord, and we can post that every day for you. So even the stuff that we miss, I think it would be worth your time to go look through it. We try really, really hard here to put something together every day that is factually backed and hopefully a little bit entertaining, and we appreciate your support every day. We'll be back tomorrow morning at noon, and then every other weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook, and I think we're one step closer to TikTok. We went live. I reapplied for the permission. If my TikTok agent is here today in the chat, maybe let me know. I applied for permission again, so hopefully we'll be on TikTok here soon. Other than that, merch is in the bio. You can support us that way or through paid memberships on Twitch and YouTube. On Twitch, if you have a paid membership, you don't have to watch commercials, so that's cool. And there's a lot of libs over there watching on Twitch, and it's a little funnier. So if you'd rather watch over there, we'd love to have you there. Thank you guys so much, though, for the support. We'll see you tomorrow at noon, and then every other day at 9:30. Take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer. Thanks, Greg, for the donation that came in late. I appreciate you, my friend, as always. See you guys tomorrow. Yours came in late too. I appreciate you so much.